Live from Hollywood. It's Free Hollywood Live. April 12th, 2020. It's the Sunday night stream. This is the live show where libertarian comrades discuss pop culture, top news, disruptive technologies, and shoot the shit with you, the commenters, in the chat. And for you listening to the replay as well, welcome. I am your anointed host, Anarcho Jesus. Double fisting the Tecates tonight for our Anarcho Easter and flattened curved live stream. Tonight, is 2020 still canceled? Or will we see an economic resurrection? Boris Johnson has had a resurrection of sorts. Has the Tecate infection curve flattened? Fauci says there's hope. And Trump, he's gone full bull. Is Trump's optimism misplaced, or will we have to get back to work on May 1st? Thus begins the great debate of 2020. Is mitigation working, or was it all a lie? A bald-faced lie at that. How much longer will the invasive measures put in place to squash the curve be with us? Justice takes a look at red flags he sees leading to an all-out surveillance state. Crypto weekly close, Tecate meme review, and more in tonight's Free Hollywood Live. His is the voice of calm and reason, albeit from the dark side. It's the professor of alchemy with a doctorate in many abilities, some considered to be unnatural. It's Darth Yoda. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How's your week been?
Okay. So, I see the ruins of LA and a very dystopian looking Mickey there.
I know, man. Sign of things to come. I heard this week that Disneyland and Walt Disney World, it could take up to 2 years for them to get back to normal.
Oh.
And, yeah. Ironically, the stock is kind of up. It's 105. Disney is $105 in the after hours. So we're going to have to see on Monday what happens. I'm really excited about what's going to happen Monday. I mean, I'm excited because I don't know what's going to happen. For me, this is the first real moment of uncertainty that I've had, serious uncertainty as far as economic markets. And what's coming next.
Is that 105 Disney? Is that simply a dead mouse bounce?
That's great. Yeah, I hope so. But, hope is not an investment strategy, right? You have to just kind of do what the market tells you is happening. And you got to go with that. You got to kind of roll with the whales and the people actually pushing markets around. We're just the little guys hoping to ride the whales and profit. I see someone in the backstage. Let me see if we can bring...
Oh, if justice has appeared.
Where there is injustice, you'll find him. When facts need checking, he'll be there. A monster in a tuxedo who prefers his Corona shaken, not stirred. He's Justice.
Hello.
Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
What you been up to this week?
Just hopping around, looking for eggs.
How did that go?
It's funny because I see like rabbits almost every night. So they are literally night. I didn't know that they were. What was it called when you're a night creature?
Nocturnal.
Yeah, thanks. They're nocturnal beasts.
I was a millisecond ahead of you there, Darth Yoda.
Ah, all right. You win that one, I guess.
Guess we could start keeping score. Speaking of finding eggs for people, this week I've been out, as you know, delivering food, risking my life, doing my part. This is my invasion of Normandy, helping out in this world war against the pandemic, the unseen enemy. Anyway, I'm out there delivering for Postmates today, and something happened that never happened before. I get sent to Vaughn's grocery store to pick up what I thought would be a pre-packed bag of groceries. Oh no, that's not the case at all. I'm going to stand in the line with everyone else, 6 feet from everyone else, and wait to get into the grocery store. And then there's a long list of groceries to pick up, and I'm going to do that picking up myself. I was like, what the heck is going on here? But that's exactly how it worked out. And yeah, I picked her up half dozen eggs and some ground turkey and some organic avocados and bananas. And I mean, it was just it took a full hour, basically. That's why I wasn't here a little bit earlier tonight. But I think we did pretty good starting on time. How do y'all feel about the starting time? It was like 4 o'clock on the money tonight, even though we tried for 3:30, but that just was wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much time before I have to leave for work, but yeah, earlier would be better for me. Although this may be my last week at this job, so.
Do you have another one lined up?
Yeah. So that'll be good. Yeah. That's all I had.
All right.
But we do have something that Justice brought, even though maybe he didn't know it. I don't have all the links queued up, but I do have. Yes, here it is. Here it is, man. Everything you said was true. Justice began reporting contrarian information when Anarcho-Jesus was going full statist and enforcing the edicts and the 5 rules, which I'm still following myself. I mean, what I've said is I went statist before the statists told us to go statist, in the sense of I was preparing and I was quarantining myself and my family before anyone ever told us to do that. And I intend to continue perhaps longer than they expect us to. And it seems like the day is coming and pretty rapidly that I guess America's going to reopen. Man, Trump is super optimistic right now about that.
So we missed the reopen by Easter.
Yeah, we missed
prediction. So are we going to give it another week? We'll reopen for Orthodox Easter?
Yeah, that's a little optimistic as well. He's saying May 1st, floating that out there. He's saying this isn't what the experts are telling me to say. This is just my feeling on it. But I've been right so far about a lot of things. Wasn't right about Easter, but again, that was just his super optimistic. But now it's May 1st. Get back to work on May 1st. What do you fellas think? Is that going to happen?
May 1st?
May 1st.
Good question. I really think they'll probably try to open before May 1st, but yeah, they may not actually. That might be like wishful thinking.
So far, he's left it to the local governors, local mayors.
Well, I think once, let's say the president decides that we need to reopen businesses, I think a lot of states will not and will defy the opening up of businesses. And I think California will be severely hurt by this. Because
in terms of sticking it out like
Trump.
Well into May sometime.
Yeah, this could be devastational for California. I think they may go like 2 or 3 months. I mean, they're just enacting like mandatory face masks in LA. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the same time, hospitals are empty, and we've already hit the peak, and they're still enacting more and more draconian laws. So I don't think they'll ever want to stop this total shutdown. Well,
man, Trump got on the Tecate Task Force live stream Friday, and I mean, he had a few good things to say about Easter, a few good things to say about Passover. I can't remember because I was really focused in on the facts concerning the outbreak and so forth. And I mean, he got up there and he said, well, the hospitals aren't full like we thought they would be. We built a whole lot of them, and they're still there if we need them. He said, we're really prepared for this thing if it gets worse, but it looks like the curve is flattening now. And Fauci backed him up on that. And the curve flattening, meaning the rate of infections has flattened. It's not accelerating anymore. So we've reached the top of the exponential curve. And, so they're saying mitigation works. But
yeah, so now starts the debate over, was mitigation working, or was it all overhyped to begin with?
Well, has anybody seen any actual live footage of a full hospital? Because I've seen a lot of footage of empty hospitals.
Only in China.
I personally know hospitals that are laying off massive percentages of their staff because they're being devastated by this.
Yeah, only in China. I haven't seen it here, and according to Trump and Fauci, it's not happening here in very many places. I mean, there may have been some places in New York.
Well, even in New York, I think it's interesting that there were basically emergency hospitals created. The convention center there, the Javits Center, was converted into hospital beds, and thus far it hasn't actually had to have been used. I think similarly with there were some real makeshift like tent hospital set up in Central Park that also have not thankfully had to have been used so far. And this despite being New York, the hardest hit city in the country with this.
Right. Hospitals totally unused. What I've only heard 2 personal accounts of people who have been diagnosed with this coronavirus, and both of them said that they were advised to stay home and shelter in place. So I don't. It sounds like anybody that actually has it is told to shelter at home. A friend of mine had something similar to it, but was tested and found not to be. Not to have actual coronavirus, but it was another pneumonia-like, I don't know, sickness. But he also was told to shelter at home.
Yeah. So again, the question, quarantining, all the restrictions, all the craziness, is it working or was it all overhyped? So that's the big question.
Well, I think it'll be interesting once we actually find out what the true numbers of this were. We have a lot of numbers being floated around, but I think they're wildly skewed towards higher numbers for coronavirus. But they're counting people that aren't even actually testing as coronavirus patients, and people with coronavirus that die of something else are being counted as coronavirus deaths. So I think the numbers are wildly over-exaggerated.
And they can be exaggerated on the other side as well, as Fauci pointed out in the last Takati Task Force briefing, which was on Friday, by the way. So we missed, I guess there wasn't one yesterday, and I haven't seen a notification for one happening so far today, which is unusual. So it looks like that'd be 2 days in a row, and that'd be the first time they've missed 2 days in a row since they've begun doing these daily live streams, informing the nation. It's a good idea that they do that. But yeah, Fauci addressed that as well and was saying, in New York, there's the numbers are highly underreported for this or that reason. I can't actually recall the case he made. Hey, I just wanted to show you this. Early on, I was encouraging people to follow the statist regulations and follow the fascist edicts and so forth, in order to keep everyone safe. But then after I heard Trump speaking and confirming everything that Justice ever said, I started feeling a little like this.
I don't believe it. It's not possible. I didn't say it would be easy to you. I just said it would be the truth. Stop. Let me out! Let me out! I want out! Easy, Neil. Easy.
He's gonna puke.
Stay away from me. Stay away from me.
Oh yeah, he's gonna pop.
Gonna pop.
Just breathe.
That was me.
Maybe he has a corona.
That was me as I was watching the Tecate Task Force on Friday, listening to Trump basically confirm everything Justice ever said about every conspiracy we ever heard.
So basically, you've been red-pilled to what Justice has been arguing the last couple of episodes here.
It's all bullshit, guys. Go break quarantine right now, people. I'm booking a flight to Wuhan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, they have zero new cases over there, so probably be a safe place to be.
Wow.
Well, if we're going to be skeptical of our own government's numbers here, I mean, I think we certainly should be skeptical of the Chinese government's claims.
Yeah. Okay. So that was part of Fauci's argument on the underreporting of numbers. They're just finding bodies in people's homes and their apartments, people that succumbed but weren't counted, and a lot of homeless as well. And those are getting kind of carted off to an island and buried in a mass grave. And
in what country?
That's here in the United States. That's New York City.
Okay,
you want to see the pictures?
So,
bodies
wait.
Mass graves in the United States.
So the mass graves. So I looked into this particular island. Which I actually hadn't heard of this island before, but yeah, it's a little island in the East River, and it's basically been like Potter's Field for hundreds of years. This is
Justice doesn't believe in the mass graves. That's
So the mass graves.
Maybe I'm wrong, but
anarcho Jesus. So this island is used, to bury people who have nowhere else to be buried, and that's been the case for a very long time. So these scary images of mass graves on this island, this goes on even when there's not a coronavirus.
Right. It's just the numbers are up, but those aren't numbers that are getting reported. According to Fauci, not Fauci's, I can't make his case for him, but you guys check out the Friday Tecate Task Force live stream. I guess I always have to search for it. It's weird. Like, I give it a thumbs up. I'm not going to subscribe to Fox News or CNN YouTube channel or anything like that. That's baloney. But I do give it a thumbs up and I watch it every day. You'd think they'd be putting that stuff right in my home feed every day when it goes live, but no, I have to actually make the effort to search for it. I like to watch it on the Fox Business YouTube channel. That one I've found to be pretty consistent as far as when they start and so forth, and their coverage is good. Some of the other ones have like reporters talking over the top of Trump when he's beginning and stuff like that. That really turns me off. So I recommend the Fox Business. But anyway, it's been a couple of days, so I wonder if people are going to start panicking. But, the last thing you heard Trump say was, this could be it. The economy is just going to take off like crazy from here. I'm thinking to myself, because I'm feeling more bearish than I ever have about the stock market right now. I mean, since, a really long time, actually, since like 2008. So
look, you had a huge bubble that was going to burst one way or another, whether it was going to be from this virus being the kind of needle that poked the bubble, or something else.
Right. Good analogy. That's it. That's my question. That gets to the heart of my question.
Yeah. Is the Fed basically going to be able to reinflate this and kick the can down the road another 10 years? Or are we really actually going to finally have to deal with things?
I guess it comes down to whether or not this quote unquote recession is artificial or not. And you mentioned a pinprick of the bubble, that being the Tecate pinprick. Now, if it was truly a bubble, then the pinprick, regardless of what form it came in, is going to have the same result, and that is a recession. It's going to be real and it's going to be long standing, like they tend to be, not 2 months later and it's over, and then reversals back to all-time highs.
Ever.
Yeah, that doesn't seem Christmas. To be but if this was just a manufactured, okay, now, all right, here we go. maybe this is overthinking it, but you let me know where I'm going wrong here. Just freestyling here. But can we put the economics together, with the overall thesis? If the market recovers V-shaped style starting Monday, I mean, it's already like V-shaped, but if it continues from here and just doesn't ever look back, then can we say this whole thing was bullshit? Like, just
I already say it is.
would that be evidence of the side of it's all bullshit, or would it be the side of mitigation worked? Would it lean towards, because I'm not really thinking that one side's totally right and the other's not, or something along those lines. The truth tends to find its way somewhere in the middle when you have these sort of extremes. But, if the market just recovers from here and doesn't look back, it makes me pause to wonder, like, how real was all of this? Because if this were a real pinprick, then that bubble has to pop.
Right.
And so far, I haven't seen that. I mean, we had a really dramatic pullback, but I mean, it was over in a couple of days.
Well, we're certainly not back up to all-time highs or anything yet.
No, but if we continue, like, if the stock market continues rallying as things left off, then there's a chance we could be back to all-time highs in a couple of months, which would be incredible to me. And totally ruin my whole bearish thesis of what's going on right here.
Yeah.
Maybe we should check in on crypto. Well, let's save that. What time is it? 4? Okay, we have like 35 minutes until the crypto close. We'll check in a little closer to the crypto close and see. I know there's something happening in the crypto space. And by the way, if the correlation continues with crypto and the stock market overall, then that would tend to lend us to think the stock market may rally in this coming week. And maybe it'll peter out, and then we'll see the full dead cat bounce. But so far, I'm still looking for it. Man, incredible. Justice, you have some memes queued up?
Yeah, let me pop that open. Sorry, I'm struggling to try to figure out how to import a bunch of audiobooks into my phone.
Taking some audiobooks with you while you work. What are you reading right now?
Well, I just finished my 4th NLP book. I did that. I read that one twice. Yeah, I finished it day before yesterday. But I think I'm done with NLP for a little while. I'm considering doing a workshop or something like that. I'm trying to figure out what the best way is to learn this. But
well, just for our listeners, maybe haven't heard of that. What is NLP?
Neuro-linguistic programming. It's a model for learning and communication. Basically, what they did is mathematician, scientist Richard Grandin. No, it's not Grandin. Okay. It starts with a B. I'm forgetting his last name right now. Actually, it should be right here. Richard Bandler. He started reviewing effective psychologists and sort of modeled their behavior, and this is a result of that. Also, them modeling people that had been able to get over phobias and how they did that, and are applying those ideas in a method where you can models. It's kind of interesting. Okay.
Got those memes?
Yeah, I just have to share my desktop share screen.
Right on. Let me I'll cancel mine just to make room. There it is. Bang.
Cool. All right.
What's going on here today?
Meme review.
There's like no traffic. How great
the
would
roads. Who would build the roads, Justice?
But like, yeah, it'd be a great time. To actually,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
be a great time to take care of the traffic at this point.
For the love of God, do all the road construction now.
Chris Farley. Like,
Gotta miss that guy.
yeah, tragedy. I love it.
Yes.
So good.
That'll work.
Yeah, I kind of don't think she understands. What kind of
By the way,
virus-
the founder of Norton Antivirus, a big crypto guy.
yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
John McAfee. Sorry, that's not Norton. That's not
you're
Norton.
Getting your old
I'm getting
school,
my,
antivirus mixed up. Yeah.
I'm totally mixing that up. It was the competitor to Norton Antivirus. Yeah. McAfee. Yeah.
That's it, McAfee, yeah.
Yeah. He's a huge crypto. What was that? I didn't have time to really.
Oh yeah, that was. I kind of glossed over that one. It's just.
Yeah, you did. What is it when you ask someone if their diet is going well while in isolation? Yes. Today I ate a whole pizza.
I like this one.
So you took everything from me. This is Bernie Sanders. You took everything from me. I don't even know where I am. Says Biden.
Look at his face. It's like I can't believe it. I got another one of these.
They tell Trump, Biden said this or that about your policy. He's like, he didn't say that. He didn't even know where he is.
If he's listening right now, he probably doesn't even understand what I'm talking about.
Listen here, Jack. Now this bad boy can.
He used car salesman.
Oh no! What is this?
Oh,
Grape,
Like a,
Grape Juice Boys posts this meme. Get in is of Joe Biden in a yellow convertible sports car. Get in, loser. We're
it looks like he just drove off. Okay. Oh yeah, here's more of that guy.
Oh, is this the that guy?
Yeah.
what a Shrek.
But is he without his face? I don't know. It's like I don't know his body. I didn't actually see the full meme without the pixelation and editing censorship.
I love that.
First Amendment violations.
Some grandmother is. What the hell is this? And why is my grandson? Why did my grandson like it?
Yes, that's probably a lot of people, I guess, right now. Man, such a weird time. I haven't seen this. Moist Buddha posts this one. Christ has risen, but you won't if you die of COVID-19. Please don't attend church this Easter Sunday. We're a little late getting this message out, but if you were planning to go tonight, please, people, stay home. Hashtag stay home. That's just a message from Anarcho Jesus to you people out there. We're having an Anarcho Easter. That is just where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name. Don't need more than that. Just whoever you're quarantining with. You can pray and read the scripture and all that. Like this one, for example. Here we go. Easter 2020. It's like Jesus at the Last Supper. Okay. Hello, everyone. Judas, are you on? And it's a Skype.
Oh.
It's a Skype Last Supper. That's so awesome. In this picture, the actual original picture, Judas is the only one depicted as a Hebrew.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a little anti-Semitism going on in the art back in those days. And Judas was also he's gripping onto a money bag because
Well, he already got his 30
pieces.
pieces of silver at that point. But wait,
30,
spoilers! I haven't even gotten
That's
anywhere
right.
close to the Last Supper yet.
That's so funny. All right. Anything else? What else you have?
I guess I'll share this one because I thought it was funny, but
You read it then.
Okay, it says, I'm not gay, but 20 tigers is 20 tigers. There's this like old joke that of this guy. It was so disgusting. It was a man with like super dirty hands, and he was just cruising around, and he had a shirt on. It says, "I'm not gay, but $20 is $20." So I think this is a play on that. But
Is this a Tiger King character?
yeah, he
Yes.
lost all his teeth from doing all the meth, I guess.
Oh, okay. I was going to say his teeth look in pretty bad condition there. The ones that are left.
Apparently, since the show, he got all new teeth.
Did he get clean though? Did he kick the meth since the show?
Good question. I hope so. Well, he got out of that relationship with that psychopath.
No, I still haven't seen the show. My wife and I intend to check it out, but it's one of those shows that we don't want to start like 10 o'clock at night when we're half asleep, because I understand like within the first 30 minutes, you're like wide awake and you're going to watch 7 episodes of this thing nonstop. So you got to get started a little earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Because I hear it's a ride. Like once it really gets going. Yeah, am I wrong about that?
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, you haven't?
It is quite a ride, yeah.
Well, no spoilers or anything, but I do know at least the fate of one character, and Trump apparently knows it as well, because a reporter brought it up at the I don't think it was the Friday, but maybe the Thursday task force live stream, and the reporter says, "Hey, are you going to give
talking about pardon?
Yeah, you going to give that guy a pardon?" And Trump's like, "Are you suggesting that I do?" Because they don't like it when reporters suggest that sort of thing, you know, just messing around with him. But he's like, "You know what? I'll look into it." It was kind of weird. It's just a surreal moment when you realize Trump knew exactly what he was talking about it and has seen that entire thing, probably.
Yeah. Sorry, it was
Yeah.
our private chat because Justice has left.
Oh, yeah?
For now.
Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. He wants to leave this going in the private. Let's see. I've got a split. Take care, boys. I'm just reading the private chat right out into the public live stream here. Hope we can get a non-Yeti Justice live from Pavilions again. Oh, yeah. That'd be nice. Check back in with us if you can, Justice from Pavilions.
And let us know what's happening in Pavilions.
We can take a look and see how many shelves are empty or full. Yeah. Right on. Checking the comments. Yeah, give a thumbs up on the video if you're still with us and enjoying the live stream tonight. I'm going to check over on our... Oh, man, he's gone, but we were going to get into this article that Justice brought up, a red flag.
Oh, what's that one?
Well,
Let's see have I seen this? It's,
Here, I'll just save the image at least. Yeah. Bring this up. Well, I haven't read the article yet, but I'll bring it up. Justice had shared this image out. It's a drone in Italy. I believe in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to share the screen in order to see it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Share the entire screen. Bang. So this guy, and here I'm going to find the article that goes with it. There it is. Great. Safari. Okay. No thanks. Close this. Yes. Okay. So it says here, I'm going to frame this up a little better. Drones take Italians' temperature and issue fines. My God. April 10th. Okay, so this is a couple of days ago. The hovering drone emits a mechanical buzz reminiscent of a wasp and shouts down instructions in a tinny voice. Attention. Oh, go ahead. Like
the Dalek.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to think. That's exactly what I was thinking. Do we still have that? Oh, we pulled it up on the live stream. I don't have the video downloaded. Jeez.
Oh, we'll have to find that again.
Man, that was the best thing ever. My God. But yeah, and a lot of love goes out to whoever took the time to send a literal life-size Dalek down the streets in the Great Britain telling people to stay under their homes by edict of the state. It was amazing. That was amazing. Attention, you are in a prohibited area. Get out immediately.
Commands the Dalek.
I have to like turn the bass down on the mic though to make this sound tinnier. Commands the drone about the size of the loaf of bread. Okay, so it's about the size of a loaf of bread. All right, he's not complaining about the size of your loaf of bread that you're carrying home with you.
Then it takes your temperature.
A heat sensor takes the offender's temperature and sends the information to a drone operator who stares at a thermal map on his handheld screen, shining orange and purple blobs. Quote, violations of the regulations result in administrative and criminal penalties, the drone says. Wow, incredible. Italy's coronavirus epicenter in northern province of, what is that city name?
Bergamo.
Bergamo in Laber. See, I get into trouble when we get into regional stuff.
These damn languages that aren't American.
That's exactly. They say if you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. You speak 1 language only, you're American. Mm-hmm. And that is true. That's a true truth. Yeah, so that just sounds like a dystopian nightmare, and I think that was the whole point of that article in the first place. Look, here's a picture of the drone, or a drone. I'm not sure that this is the actual one, but I believe this was featured. Incredible. I wish Justice was here to add his thoughts. Since he isn't, I'm just going to mark that up as a point for the debate on the side of this was all bullshit in order for a power grab. I'm going to go ahead and concede the point that if there's going to be drones flying around taking people's temperatures and shouting down orders that you're violating regulations, and this is going to go on for much longer than May 1st or something along those lines, then I'm going to have to concede the point over to the side of, this was just a power grab.
Yeah, well, even if it wasn't initially just a power grab, even if this virus is as dangerous as it's claimed to be, it's still the classic never let a crisis go to waste scenario. Yeah. You have any other examples of that besides drones taking people's temperature and barking orders at them like a Dalek? Well, it's kind of the most egregious one right now, but obviously a lot of surveillance state tools are possibly coming in. I mean, that's what the MIT Technology Review article covered. And of course, the unintentionally humorous thing in that article towards the end, the writer argues for a sunset clause on any surveillance technology. And of course, we know how well sunset clauses have gone with the Patriot Act and everything else since 9/11. So, yeah, tell me about it. Huh. Yeah, Elon Musk proposes sunset clauses on laws and revisiting laws to vote whether or not they should remain and things like that. It's just too sensible. That'll never happen. Yeah. I was trying to pull up that article real quick, but I wasn't quick enough. There we go. But yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Things won't go back to the same. That technology review. No, this is a new one, I think. Oh, it is? What's the name of that article? Specifically, it's one Justice posted in the Signal chat today. It's about contact tracing, supposedly anonymous surveillance. I see it. I see it right here. Yeah. Pull it up. Okay. Bang.
Apple and Google are partnering to build a COVID-19 contact tracing system. By Josh Hendrickson, April 10th. Today, Apple and Google announced a joint partnership to build a contact tracing system. A little too far. The idea is to track the spread of COVID-19 through the use of Bluetooth Low Energy BLE transmission and approved apps from health organizations. The two companies released a series of white papers detailing the new system, its methods, its goals. Protecting privacy is paramount for the system to work well. Apple always says that. I believe them for the most part, but let's continue. Without those reassurances, users won't opt in. I believe that because I'm an investor in Apple, and I believe that if they weren't honoring everything they've said regarding security, it would tank the share price. Not that there's a lot of activists, investors out there, but I think there is a lot of trust built into everything to do with financial markets. And whenever you have a company that violates a trust, no matter what it is, there tends to be penalties for that. I mean, I would have to think about selling shares at that point personally. So far, so good, even though Tim Cook has said things that give me pause and so forth. But yeah, no egregious violations of liberties so far. Justice may disagree. He's not here to disagree. So I'm just going to railroad right over that debate and say Apple's a pretty good company. Invest in them if you want to, while share prices are low. But anyway, let's read on. Okay. When someone uses a health app to report they are infected, the app and system will notice anyone else that came in contact with the person recently. The message won't reveal, hey, Anarcho Kitty. The message won't reveal identification, just that an exposure contact may have occurred. Apple and Google are taking other steps to preserve anonymity, including broadcasting an anonymous key over Bluetooth rather than a static identity. I'm getting a little dry mouth. I'm going to crack another Tecate here. Hang on. You can't quarantine without a Tecate. Not properly, anyway. Cheers to the resurrection. Cheers to my brothers. Yes. My brother always showing off. Made a whole religion over it. Jesus. Well, anyway, here's to Jesus, the real Lord and Savior, and to Easter.
Not just of pop culture.
Not just the Lord and Savior of pop culture. That's right. The poor step twin brother of Jesus. Anyway, cheers. All right. Let's read this tweet here. It says, to help public health officials slow the spread, Google and Apple are working on a contact tracing approach designed with strong controls and protections for user privacy. Tim Cook and I are committed to working together on these efforts. Okay, so let me ask you this. All this talk of user privacy and strict controls is a bunch of bullshit, and really it's all about tracking people and against their will. I mean, what's the thesis here? I'm like to get right to that debate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thesis here about the concerns is, don't trust Google and Apple to safeguard your privacy.
Now, Google, I can totally get down with on that, like not trusting.
Yeah.
And even Elon Musk has said so, as far as, I mean, he's friends with the people that started it and all, but as far as a company and where they're headed with artificial intelligence, Elon says there is only one. There's only one company out there that could really mess things up in a really big way.
The one that's Google, he thinks.
He never mentioned them by name because he's friends with those guys, but you know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's not Apple, it's Google. The fact that Apple and Google are working together closely on a system like this does give one pause. I'd have to concede that. I know Apple's focus on safety and security and privacy is real because they have a lot at stake if it's not. Google, on the other hand, you just never know like what they're doing. I would never have one of those Google devices in my house, that you just speak and you ask it questions and it's always listening to you and reporting back to its perfect overlords. Those devices you can order stuff online. I would never have one of those in my house, I don't think. I mean, my car is basically that. I'm happy to just have a Tesla and a car that listens to me and drives me where I need to go.
And so what is it that makes Elon Musk more trustworthy?
Of Apple? I don't know that Elon is. I am, because I invest in them. Yeah. And I invested in them because I trust them, not the other way around. As far as why Elon is untrusting of Google, I would have to say it has something to do with a potential combination of the machine learning that they are quickly innovating over on the software side of things, applying it to the searches and the search algorithms that they've developed to create an enormous amount of quick machine learning about human culture and so many things, and then combining that learning with the hardware that they have that they're developing over with Boston Dynamics. When they acquired Boston Dynamics, ever since they've acquired it, the innovation has been just incredible. Like, they've gone through many multiple iterations of every robot that they've been showing promise. And there was like this big dog back like 10 years ago that was really incredible when you first saw that prototype out in the snow, stumbling around, catching its balance, and continuing on. And now they've made like miniaturized versions of those that you could buy for a few $1,000s. I don't think they sell them to individuals, though. They only kind of lease them out to companies, is how that's working at this point. But they're getting real close to having viable products out in the market that are like literal, like really amazing robotics that you would only imagine from a Hollywood movie, like iRobot or something.
Yeah.
Like getting really close to being able to purchase those things, have them in your home, have them around the neighborhoods, in the cities. But combined with the artificial intelligence that they're developing and the access to all the world's knowledge, just creates a scenario that if they're not really super serious about protecting the things that are precious to us as humans that we take for granted and hardly ever think about, we're at risk of losing those things, and not in a long like timeline, but in a very rapid amount of time. There's a philosopher and a futurist, a technologist. His name is Nick Bostrom, and he put out a paper a while ago. I can look it up real quick. And I believe it had a profound effect on Elon Musk. Yeah, it was super intelligence? Artificial super, ASI. That's
okay.
Artificial super intelligence. And that's the search. Nick Bostrom, ASI. We are like small children
playing with a bomb.
Yeah, you see it there. Yeah. I think that must be it. That's 2016. So yeah, this is going back a few years. Okay, now this is an interview, but probably in there to link to his original paper. But that's the thing that really caught Elon Musk's attention. And and in that paper, I read the paper. In that paper, Nick describes what artificial and superintelligence would be like. And it's not like anything we've seen in any Hollywood movie yet, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that is out there. And if it isn't, it should be. Like, this is way beyond any Terminator movie. And it has to do with unintended consequences. I guess on some level, this could be kind of a libertarian metaphor in a sense. So in the paper, Nick describes a hypothetical situation where a company is using machine learning to, I believe it was to teach, to teach the robot how to write, like to sign a letter in human handwriting, and to make it look like
real,
precisely like a human actually wrote the letter or signed the letter.
Yeah.
And I mean, the details are fuzzy. It was a number of years ago, but anyway, so they give this machine learning algorithm a command to get really good at this, and they begin to feed it information, and like, so they give it thousands of examples of humans' signatures, and it begins to improve, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be. So they give it tens of thousands of examples of pictures and images of signatures, but it's still not getting good enough. At some point, the algorithm offers a suggestion to the software engineers that it needs access to millions and billions of images. Do you know of any place where I could have access to millions and billions of images? You know, kind of puts it out there. And so the scientists discuss among themselves, and they're like, well, there's no way it could know about the internet or anything like that. What if we just give it very limited access to the internet, just limited access? You know, anything goes wrong, we shut it right down. You know, 15 minutes, just give it 15 minutes, you know, this sort of thing. And so they turn it on with the idea of, we're just going to see what happens, give it 15 minutes. They give this machine learning algorithm access to the internet. And within 15 minutes, this thing has unleashed an entire plan that it is conceived of on a level that humans can, going like not 4D chess, but many orders of magnitude levels advanced beyond what you could have ever comprehended. Like within hours, there's like a hellscape being unleashed on the human civilization with nanobots and things, and bio. And you see what's going on here with this coronavirus. You know, I'll just go ahead and say it. But the thing is, the machine could have planned this whole thing out like in a way that you couldn't imagine. And the way he describes it in the paper is, the intelligence would be so far removed from human intelligence that it would be more like we always think of like super intelligence as just one or two steps above where humans are using our tech. But he's talking about levels where, you know, we're the chimpanzees, and this is way beyond human intelligence.
Right. It reminds me of the old, was it Carl Sagan who said this? Some famous science fiction writer. May have been, I don't remember, but that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Right. And it would be like you didn't even know what happened or why or what or how. Like it'd be, you would totally not see it coming. It would just be like, well, what harm is it? We can shut this down. We created it.
So speaking of advanced technology and artificial intelligence, because some people have put out there the idea that Satoshi is an AI. We're 5 minutes away from the Bitcoin weekly close.
Yes, we are. And we have just dropped back below 7,000, but not by much. Retesting 7,000 here at the weekly close. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay, good. These are the weekly Bitcoin candles. What are you seeing there, my friend? Taking a broad market look at the Bitcoin weekly close. I
mean, in all likelihood, a fourth green candle in a row here. I think it's the first time we've seen that, and at least in a little while.
Going back, we had a couple of weeks and then a big pullback.
I mean,
In
these
a couple
aren't
of
some
weeks, and a
amazing,
pullback.
amazing, beautiful candles, but
They
they're
keep
still
surprising
green.
us.
Yeah.
And here's Tone Vase's line that he said likely will hold as far as bottoms are concerned. And he said if this were to happen, he would quickly move it up. We'd have to go to the daily chart to see where to move that line up. But he had it here. He says he likes it to touch as many wicks as possible. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this line has moved.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is there's a way to draw this where you're hitting more wicks, but anyway, in the 5,700 5,800 range. And he said if that were to hold, he would move it. Let's see.
We're dropping here under 6,900, at least for a second there.
Yeah, it was something like this, 62, somewhere around there. Maybe it was under this wick. Maybe it was right under that wick. 61. Yeah, that seems about right. So I'll leave that there for future reference, and we'll see if that holds up. But Tone Vase is very bullish right now. He says buy every dip. At least that's what he's doing. He says pretty much these wicks to him shout.
Are buy.
They shout capitulation. He says what these wicks show him here is the exact thing that these wicks down here did not show him.
Okay.
So when we bottomed out over here at 3,100 USD, it wasn't a strong capitulation. You didn't have like big
you
long
have
wicks.
That crazy wick going down the way you did on that giant red candle
It wasn't
that we had
like
a month ago.
we had there was a couple of weeks of pullback here, and then it just kind of leveled off and scooped, and then it just began to go back, and we thought maybe it did all-time highs again until it reversed at 14,000. And from there, it's been kind of like a weird, rough time from 14,000 all the way back down to the bottom of this wick, which is 30, almost 3,700. Wow. I remember that happening too, like watching this unfold. It happens so quickly when it happens, and you're just like, my God, it's happening so fast. It seems like it'll never stop. They call it the falling knife.
Yeah, that wick was a rough one to watch that day.
Well, yeah, because you had me convinced to buy Ethereum. It was like we were bottoming out here, and it was like, man, not that you were hard selling me on it. I was an easy sell at that point because I had this cash laying around, and I'm like, yeah, it seems like this is kind of the bottom. It's like this was a bit unexpected to me, but that was what Tone Vase had been looking for. And he's like, now that this has happened, now I have confidence. And every time we have a pullback, I'm buying the dip. So now's the time to buy the dip, according to Tone Vase.
Yeah.
And he hardly ever advises. I've been listening to this guy for 4 years almost. And he hardly ever.
That candle just closed.
Okay, there it is.
There. Yep.
All right, where did we close? Let me pull up the stats. So the open was 67.78, the high of 74.66, a low 67.50, and the close here at 69.08.
Okay.
So we didn't close above 7,000, unfortunately.
But we still got, a little green overall there.
Yeah, we have a green candle. Let me pull up the volume. So we have declining volume.
Yeah,
We have rising prices. On the other side of the argument, let me give the bear case, because this is what I've been hearing on the other side, and I'm going to have to back away from the weekly candles. And I hate to do this because I prefer to be bullish. I hope we're going, back to at least test 10,000 again here pretty quickly. But we'll have to see on that. Here's what the bear case says. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. Now, with the 4-hour chart, we're going to have to scale back quite a bit to really see the structure of things. And what some technical analysis are saying, and let me get a different color here just to make it stand out. they're drawing this as kind of a have you seen this before? Let's see. Okay. Touch as many wicks as possible. All right, boom. Bear flag.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so they're calling bear flag. Now, this isn't how Tone is drawing it at all. At all. Here's how Tone's drawing it.
So Tone isn't seeing this as a bear flag.
No, I haven't heard him one time say bear flag. And I've heard people in his chat say, hey, give the other side of the argument. And he kind of gives it a quick lip service. He is so bullish right now. I've never seen him like this. So
Yeah,
he's been drawing.
Last year, he was talking 1,500. Did he predict
1,300.
as low as that? 1,300. I knew it was something pretty low.
So he's drawing it something along these lines. Like it's a triangle on the daily like this. And we've had a breakout and it's come back and retested. And now and then the arrow. Is there an arrow in here? Like a let's see. That's kind of an arrow. But yeah, he has an arrow drawn from there. To be fair, he had it bouncing around inside of the triangle, but it's, the breakout and the come back and testing it. And then, I don't think he had it this high, but it's up here somewhere on a Fibonacci. I guess we could look at that Fibonacci real quick, since there may be someone tuned in that actually cares about technical analysis as much as we do. I'm kind of nerds for this stuff, and I know that not a lot of people are that probably tune into libertarian channels. But, you guys only have your...
We're heavy into this.
They only have themselves to blame for promoting this stuff from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes. Who were some of those early ones that you recall? You were in this way earlier than me.
Well, I think back to our meetup and our gold to 100,000 technical analysis.
That guy?
Not sure if we're actually dropping names here.
No, we're not. But yeah. I know who you're talking about. So he was. What was he saying of Bitcoin back in those days? Because
back in those days, Bitcoin hadn't really gotten going yet. At least to the degree that you could do a chart with any degree of usefulness to it. So when he was doing these, we're talking like 2010, 2011. I think 2011 may have been Bitcoin's first crazy run where it got up to like $2, or forget how high it got up in 2011 and then came falling back down. I'd have to look at like that really old history of the charts again. But
yeah, I'm just really curious why it didn't click in my head about Bitcoin back in 2010 when we were doing the meetups and letting him give us the technical analysis on gold and so forth. Because I know we were talking about it, and I know that I even mentioned it as a competing currency. I was really into competing currencies. That was one of Ron Paul's platform campaign issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, that was a big issue, because I felt like with competing currencies, you really have the opportunity to let the free market do its thing against what all the manipulation that the Fed is doing. Man, Bitcoin's still dropping, and we're at 6,848 right now. So the new weekly candle is beginning to print in the downward direction. And if this continues all night, and we find ourselves at like 6,500 tomorrow morning, then I'm going to be looking for the stock market to start pulling back. And the stock market's going to be like, okay, Trump, you were really optimistic, but the bull run's over. It's time to let this dead cat on this. It's time to put this cat out of its misery. And that would only be if Bitcoin and the stock market remains correlated.
Yeah, which they aren't necessarily.
They're not, and we're hoping that they don't remain
yeah.
correlated. But so far, there seems to be more correlation than less correlation. So I'll be looking for that pullback if we have Bitcoin going down tonight. But this is what Tone has drawn. I think it's up to this 0.78 Fibonacci,
okay.
which is at about 9,100, basically. And look, I have a green line drawn there that I drew a long time ago, so you know that it's important. So, yeah, 9,100. Look for a pullback. If Bitcoin continues to bounce in the coming weeks, that could be an important place to pull back. Right on. I expect Justice to be busting in any second. Let me check and see.
Yeah, with live from Pavilion's update.
Yeah, I don't see him, but what'll happen is another icon will pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. So we'll check back with Justice in a little bit. Oh, I should plug my laptop in before it dies. I'm like 3% battery left.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that'll go any second then.
Happy Easter to everyone out there, man. We're so happy that you guys stopped by and having a few laughs with us here. We're not really trying to change the world or start a movement. We did that back with Ron Paul back in the day. Yeah, we're just getting together to have a few laughs about all this craziness going on in the world right now. Man, my God.
Yeah, breadlines at Pavilions. I mean,
and that's a good thing. Poor Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I think last time we streamed was the day that Bernie dropped out. So, yeah, officially, once again,
That's right.
Pour one out for Bernie 2020.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I'm not going to waste any of this Tecate. We're in recession now, but I will definitely I'll have us. Here's to you, Bernie.
We will metaphorically pour one out for Bernie 2020.
I'll pour it out into my mouth. That was for you, Bernie bros. Sorry. So sorry,
Sorry, the Ron Paul bros know what you're feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were there.
We were there. Yep.
We were at the call centers. We were knocking on doors. We were hanging
flying
down.
a blimp.
We had the longest limousine you ever saw. We had celebrities like Vince Vaughn. Like everyone was doing their part. We thought we really had a chance. Like we had never seen a cultural phenomenon like you had seen the Ron Paul revolution ever. Facebook was kind of a new thing at the time, and a lot of the early Ron Paulers, they figured out that algorithm so quick, and they started using that platform. That basically Facebook was hijacked for a few years by the Ron Paulers, and I know you all remember it.
Yeah,
were on
it was
Facebook
fun.
at the time. Yeah, it was fun.
Back when Facebook was still fun.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's basically become hijacked by all of our mothers.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the average age of Facebook has gone up dramatically since the time period we're talking about. Yeah. And that's not just, we're all 8 years older. I mean, I think like Facebook has basically been embraced by boomers big time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed. You're totally right about that. Though it's not been totally rejected by Zers.
Yeah.
It's just that the boomerness of it has kind of turned the Xers off.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. And maybe some millennials.
Yeah.
Who have migrated over more towards Instagram and Snapchat. Which, by the way, Snapchat's made a really good comeback in the stock price. I mean, it got down to like $4.
Yeah,
Snapchat
I was wondering because, so much of Snapchat got basically like, Instagram took like a lot of what was popular about Snapchat and integrated into the, Instagram platform. So there was a point where Snapchat was much more of a pioneering thing at this point, and I kind of would figure that be reflected in the stock price, the fact that it's not like it's just this unique idea anymore, and hasn't been for a couple of years.
Yeah, when Instagram implemented their
Stories
Snapchat kind of features, exactly, stories, that's when the stock price began to decline, and it continued to decline. I guess it was in the 30s. It got all the way down to like $4. And then in recent months, because really what's happened is, and what speculators didn't give enough credit to, was the the ecosphere that Snapchat had created. And a lot of people had invested a lot of hours into their Snapchats and developing that platform for their businesses, for their just their personal brand. And I think a lot of Snapchatters went over and tried the Instagram stories and tried to get in on that, but it just wasn't the same. And it didn't really, their following didn't migrate over like everyone thought it would. And people just kept using Snapchat. And then like gradually it began to get more popular again. And then the user began to go up again. And then the stock price went up again all the way. I think it got all the way up to like $19 or something. A lot of people were buying it at 17. The channel I follow on YouTube called Hyperchain, he did a video where he bought in at 17. And then I watched it drop back down to like $10, $9 during this Corona thing. So I had to pick up some shares at around $10, myself. Not a lot. Just some long options and a few straight up shares just to say I bought a few. It's hard to just sit there and not do anything when you're watching stocks go down like so incredibly far. Mm-hmm. And it happens so fast. So maybe the bottom is in. A lot of people are just kind of waiting for a equilibrium to form, where instead of reaching a lower low, we're just going to reach a higher low. But it doesn't even look like that's happening yet. Man, I'm losing faith in my bear thesis, wondering if I've made a mistake.
Well, I mean, it really depends partially on how healthy you thought the whole economy was to begin with. And then also, even if the economy is not healthy overall, to what degree you think that the Federal Reserve is still able to pump this whole thing back up for a little while. I mean, those are kind of unknowns. I mean, we know that it's unsustainable, but whether we've kind of reached that moment of instability or, unsustainability now within this past month, or whether we're going to be able to kick the problems down the road again another 10 years, still remains to be seen.
Well, some people would.
But I mean, we know that this pump in the stock market, this rebound, is not really based on fundamentals, present fundamentals at least, with so much of the economy shut down by a state edict.
Yeah, it's based on fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is when markets open tomorrow morning, because the last time we heard from the Tecate Task Force, and apparently they're not going to go live today either, it was a lot of optimism. There was a lot of hope that, we're going to be getting back to work soon, that, this thing's going to be over soon. Hey, everybody, just hang tight a little bit longer. Don't panic. And things like you panicked at first when you realized that there was a problem. Don't panic now that you realize that maybe the problem's flattening out and kind of we're turning the corner now. Like, don't stop all the mitigation. Don't book a train to Wuhan just because, I said that the curve is flattening and stuff like that. But I know that now is going to be the time where a lot of people say, hey, look, the whole thing was just a bunch of nonsense, back to normal. Like, let's just start heading to the parks during quarantine time for the rest of this. And that's when the second wave is on. And unless it's all, I don't know. I think stopping the flights really did make a big effect.
Well, getting back to the market opening tomorrow, I mean, I just pulled up how futures are doing tonight.
You want to share that out? Give it a try.
Yeah, well, I'm pulling it up I have it up on my phone. I didn't open it
never mind.
On my
never mind.
laptop here. But no. Now, okay, U.S. stock index futures quickly give up early gains Sunday evening as oil proved unable to get a lift from a historic agreement by major producers to curb production, ending a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia. So this ongoing debate about cutting production. Once again, there's speculation or, apparently maybe an actual agreement then. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it in a few days. That the Saudis and the Russians are going to get on board with cutting production. So, but apparently that didn't do enough to boost futures. So, looks like Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all down 1.2%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe in $18.15. Sorry, 18.50 a barrel oil. I believe in it. I don't know if we're going to get there or not, but I believe in it. 18.50.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. I saw Royal Dutch Shell get down to like 19.50 per share, and it tracks really closely with the price of oil. I believe the price of oil got down to 19 something per barrel at around that same time.
Yeah, and then it jumped right back up a bit. But
it did. It jumped back incredibly fast too, and made me start kicking myself, thinking like, "That's it. That's the bear market right there." I mean, I was extremely bearish. Dry powder on the side. I sold a percentage of my holdings just to be ready. I don't typically do that, but this seemed like the black swan event where it was necessary, and also to have that cash to take care of my family and so forth. But here we are, where it seems like the country may be reopening sooner than I had expected, and there's going to be cash left for investments, but it's already run up so far that I'm thinking, man, maybe I'll just hang on to the cash. And, but it just, so it's a good question, man. What do I believe? What fueled the bearish thesis in the first place? Well, it's like the 2008 financial crisis never really fully came to an end this entire time to me. It feels very much like the can was kicked down the road, as the metaphor. I like your metaphor. And here we are once again. Now, Trump being elected did unleash a lot of creative energy and a lot of faith back into the American economy. And we've seen the benefits of that, and a lot of investment in the stock markets and so forth. As a result of having a president that speaks the language of business and is kind of getting in there and getting his hands dirty and trying to make things happen, canceling a lot of really hurtful trade deals, and business has responded positively. I don't think that part of what has happened since 2016 is fake. But I don't think that what we have going on with where things are is 100% real either. Mm-hmm. Things haven't recovered fully since 2008. And, and it doesn't seem like they're trying any kind of moderate approach as far as Fed intervention this time. I mean, they're printing it. I mean, they're already at $4 trillion, which I think in the beginning, I thought that would be the max. That's the total possible max that they could do. I think they're going to do more than that now. $6 trillion's already been floated out there.
Yeah, obviously they're already starting to speculate, what's the next package going to include.
So the question is it going to work? Well, maybe. And this is where I have to start questioning my own thesis and say, like, do I capitulate? Do I just FOMO back in next week with the herd? Do I just watch and wait? That's kind of my stand right now. Is I'm bearish overall, but neutral as far as what I'm willing to do action wise, just sitting on cash. And I think a lot of people are, but a lot of people already jumped the gun and started getting back in like last week and the week before. Mm-hmm. And, it's been hard to sit on the sideline and just watch that happen. But, overall, I feel like I suggested a few weeks ago, can't recall when, on one of these streams, we talked about the Adam and Eve pattern, where you have this spike upward, but then it fails like a dead cat bounce, but it doesn't have to fall to lower lows like a dead cat bounce. It can scoop. It does like an ice cream scoop pattern that takes a lot longer to recover, but eventually it'll go back up and retest the highs of that initial spike and then the breakout. And that's what I've been expecting, and I'm still expecting. But we're still in that spike phase if what I'm saying plays out. And that's just a hard part to watch because, the possibility that that's not going to play out that way and it's just going to continue to all-time highs is also there. And I'm not really positioned to benefit greatly if that were to be the case. I have some long options and things that I've bought which would benefit, but You know, it's not enough to really justify all that I've done, but that's okay. The main thing is to keep the family safe, you know, and cash is always a good thing to have during these times of crisis. Whether the crisis, how much of it is real versus how much is manufactured. Still good to have that on the side. Man, Justice feeling very vindicated tonight for sure. He's listening in out there.
Yeah.
Good job, Justice. Anarcho Jesus feeling a little bummed tonight because the world's not as wrecked as he thought it was. But, you know, it is for a lot of people that are actually going through this hard time. You know, Boris Johnson just barely survived, he says.
Yeah, well, I think he's out of the ICU now, at least, right?
He is. He is. He doesn't look so hot, but he's out. And he wanted to give special thanks to basically the techs that were operating his ventilation machine. They saved his life. They were with him during that dark time. We read the account of the ER doctor, the nurse that gave their account of having suffered through all the stages of COVID-19 and made it to the other side. And there's this point where you're just not sure if you're going to make it or not. And there's no one there to help you. And there's no cure. And it's just you and this thing battling it out. And if you don't have the will to live, chances are you're not going to. And Boris Johnson basically described that same sort of thing, not in the great detail that we read last week, but he said, if it weren't for those techs there at my side that night, I wouldn't have made it. Like they knew exactly how to regulate the machine and to give me all the things I needed to keep me with them, you know, to stay conscious through that part of it. Because if you just drift off and go to sleep, you're done. And that's why they're finding bodies in apartments and things, because people just, you know, they're trying to just brave it out, you know, not go to the hospitals and things and just tough it out. And that seems like that's kind of a good choice, but a lot of people aren't making it through that. And that's the rough part. So hearts go out to all of you that are affected by this personally in any way or have loved ones that are, so forth. Do you know anyone personally, Darth Yoda?
You know, I don't think so off the top of my head. Anybody who actually has this thing or has had it, I'd really have to think about that. As of right now, I mean, the answer would be no off the top of my head.
I have friends of friends, but no one personally that so far. But that's the thing about this. There's people that have had it, were asymptomatic, they got through it, and they never even knew they had it. And these people aren't tested, and they're out there right now. The numbers, in fact, of the survival rate on this versus the death rate will probably be the death rate will be a whole lot lower. I mean, Justice has already been, showering skepticism on the whole thing about the numbers, as far as the death rate being much lower in reality and much more overblown in the media and by the experts.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many people have had this thing already and were just asymptomatic or just thought it was like some minor cold that you sleep off in a day, and so on. And
I'm going to get tested.
If those numbers are a lot larger than we think, then yes, presumably the death rate would be lower.
Yeah, like an order of magnitude lower than what we see right now in the official numbers. And I'm going to have to go get tested. It was December. We took a trip to Vegas. And like I shared before, Vegas is basically decided to market to the Chinese almost exclusively. Like every new machine that pops up, it's not for Americans. No, there's golden pigs and monkeys and a lot of red, and a lot of gold, gold coins with holes in the middle. And anyway, a lot of Chinese in Vegas. We were there in December. Of course, this outbreak was already going on in China as far back as we know, as far back as October. So October, November, December. So there's a few months for this to get around in the world and to travel around. And we were in Vegas. Didn't do a whole lot of like casino floor gambling, but we definitely stayed in a hotel there and traveled through a casino every day to get back and forth to our hotel room. And I was feeling ill towards the end of it. I actually stayed in one night, let them go off and do their thing. But it wasn't anything like what we read last week or what Boris Johnson described.
No, so you had a pretty mild case of something.
Yeah, it was. And my wife keeps telling me that when she reads about the asymptomatic cases of this, she thinks that we may have caught it because she had the same thing like I did.
Yeah.
When we were coming back for Vegas, and it didn't last for very long, just a few days. Never got extreme, but it was annoying. And I say a few days, but I can't really recall if it was a few days or if it was like a week and a half or so. But anyway, we eventually just shook it off and was back to normal, and didn't really think much about it after that. And then it was a few weeks later that all of this information about something breaking out in Wuhan, China started to, come across the lines. And then we're starting to think about things like, wow, were we lucky? Did we miss it? But then the real question is, did we catch it actually?
Yeah. Well, Stanford is doing a study right now where they're going to, testing a whole bunch of people to try to determine if California had an early outbreak of it in November or December, based on the number of people who are like, I had this weird flu-like thing back, in the late fall. So, and given that, like LA and San Francisco are not out of control to the degree that New York has been crazy, there's been speculation that there may have been like some early outbreak in California that was mostly pretty mild. So Stanford is trying to get out there and like test people and try to determine, who's got immunity at this point.
I'm definitely going to do it as soon as I get the opportunity. And if I discover that I caught this thing and survived and can produce serum, I'm definitely going to do that. I mean, I'm doing Postmates and DoorDash for my fellow man during this. This is, my way of like serving my fellow man, risking my life. This is my Normandy. But, if I could contribute serum that could also help, I mean, that would be like next level help to my fellow man. And man, that would really make me feel good because compared to my grandpa, y'all didn't know I had a grandpa? We'll get into that later. But anyway, a real hero, World War II, stood up to the Germans, like incredible man, led German soldiers captive, like hundreds of them by himself, like the Secret Service of his time. Yes, a real man, a man's man, and all that. And
not a soy boy.
And here I am with my dookie rope, my pink pistol, and my 8-bit glasses. Nick Hancock joins us in the chat, says, is the show always live at bath time? Sorry, dude. Yeah. Whenever we hear the rubber ducky, that's when we go live. Actually, we've been streaming for quite a while. We're an hour and a half into it. We're going to be wrapping it up here in just a minute. Justice left us, and we were hoping he could rejoin, and we're at this point kind of stalling, hoping that he can give us the Pavilion's live update.
Because last Sunday, Justice gave us a video update from Pavilions. Showed us what shelves had stuff, what shelves did not.
They were missing steaks, right? And he was there for that.
Yeah.
He was there for like the organic ground or the buffalo ground.
Yeah.
And none of that could be found because the Pavilions people snatched it all up, horde style.
Yeah.
Zombie horde style. Nick, we'd love to have you on the live stream sometime.
Indeed.
In the future,
That'd be
we'll
excellent.
probably be going live again. I just saw something.
What?
Let me.
Hello.
What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Just-
well, for a minute
Justice
there,
joins
Justice,
us.
for a minute there, I thought we were about to get your live from Pavilions video update. But,
No. I actually hit the video twice, but the first time it went blank, and for some reason it popped open again.
How's it looking over at Pavilions, Justice?
I actually haven't gone in a few days because they didn't want people congregating outside where they had tables, and I used to go to get lunch, but now I have to stand and eat, and it's been raining for all week, and they took down the umbrellas and got rid of the chairs, so I'd have to stand in the rain to eat. And so
oh my.
Sounds like you're at the
that was
beach.
no longer,
Yeah, I hear a Liberty Seagull there.
Yeah, there's like a gull in the background.
I work at marinas, so there's always seagulls.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it just might be a sign of the apocalypse. The gulls are moving into the city center at this point. As it's getting overgrown and trees are beginning to emerge from the buildings and vines. Give a thumbs up for the thumbnail tonight if you like the thumbnail and the background graphics. We have our dystopian Mickey Mouse. As Disneyland may be not back to normal for 2 years, they say.
Wow.
Why do they say that?
Because of social distancing measures and also just cultural shift as people are not going to be spending money on places of social gathering like they used to probably for 2 years, they're estimating. Yet the stock price is up. The stock price is up. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, that's plenty of time for them to roll out Aladdin Land then, right?
oh man, Aladdin
changing
Land.
Galaxy's Edge over to Aladdin Land.
Oh my God, maybe this is it. This COVID thing is the X factor that brings Aladdin Land back into play. I thought that was over. Like they seem to have really nailed it with this latest Star Wars ride that they debuted, the Rise of the Resistance. Like that seemed to be the missing puzzle piece that completed Galaxy's Edge, both the East Coast and the West Coast. Lots of rave reviews. I've watched the ride-throughs, a bunch of the ride-through videos. It looks amazing. The come to Jesus moment depends of
that opened in February.
Yeah, and it was going for it was opened even earlier than that for the pre media people and so forth, like even as far back as December. And it was open for a couple of months. And now that this has happened, I'm just wondering.
The status took over.
I'm just wondering,
now that the status took over. Sorry.
I wonder, is Aladdin Land back on the table again? I thought that was done for sure. Do you remember the Aladdin Land conspiracy rumor?
Well, yeah, you talked about the Aladdin Land conspiracy a lot, about how easy it would be to turn Galaxy's Edge into Aladdin Land. So, I mean, I was thinking you were going to go to some whole other level conspiracy here, which is that coronavirus was just faked in order to shut everything down so Disney could go in there and turn things into Aladdin Land. But
yeah, well, that was the rumor. It was like, look, this Galaxy Edge thing isn't really panning out so well. If you recall, they had the media press opening where they rolled out George Lucas and Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams. Lando. They rolled all those dudes out. Yeah, Mark Hamill gave a really touching, heartfelt, goodbye speech to the fan base, basically saying goodbye. It was a fun ride and all that. Changed my life and it's over. I knew at that point that Rise of the whatever this last movie was not going to be a very Luke Skywalker centered movie, as all of them turned out to not be Luke Skywalker centric in any way. Man, just such a letdown. Sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but anyway, so they had the grand fanfare and opening of Galaxy's Edge, and a couple of days of excitement online and on social media as the people that got to attend it for free made a bunch of noise about it, posted a bunch of videos. Here, get a sip of my Tecate. But then it was a ghost town. Not exactly, but relatively speaking, for a Disney brand new opening theme park, a ghost town. Like, think of Cars Land. When they opened Cars Land and they opened that the Racers ride in Cars Land, like from the day that thing opened until now, you can't get on that ride for less than like an hour. Yeah. Usually it's like 2 to 3 hours.
It's more like 2 hours at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I always see 75 minutes, 90 minutes, 150 minutes. It's crazy sometimes. And it's always like that. And it's been like that from the beginning to this day. Avatar. I haven't been to the Avatar land that they built over in Animal Kingdom on the East Coast, but I hear that it's just lines nonstop ever from the opening until now to ride the Avatar ride. There's apparently a Soarin' kind of style virtual reality.
Oh, like soaring over whatever the planet is called, the Avatar planet. Yeah,
that's right. Basically, it's the Avatar ride is like soaring over the land of Avatar, where you get to soar out of the park and go into the real Avatar land. And it sounds amazing. And so they opened Galaxy's Edge and they had the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride. And we rode it. We got to experience that together, Darth Yoda and I.
Indeed.
Which was a really, really cool experience to experience it with him, because he's, so cute and short. And I put him up there by the window where he likes to ride and hold on to that little knob. So it was like kind of meta. Yeah, but we did the ride and it was over and it was like, that was fun. Want to do it again? Yeah, I'm good. Let's go do Pirates of the Caribbean for the 500th time. So it just didn't seem to have the staying power that you would expect from a Star Wars land until Rise of the Resistance.
It was not as good of a ride as Star Tours, for example, to do the more direct parallel.
And that's a good point, because that's exactly what we did. We rode the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and then immediately went over to ride Star Tours. And we thought, let's see, which one's better, the new one or the old one? And in my opinion, the old one, the visuals in the old one were more cinematic. Mm-hmm. It looked more like the feature films, whereas Smuggler's Run looked more like a video game version of Star Wars. Like the colors, everything's just so bright, everything's so oversaturated. It is a video game in a real sense, whereas Star Tours, you're just kind of along for the ride, and it's a very cinematic experience. And I felt just between the two of them, even though Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run is maybe more of a technical achievement than what they've done, in some ways I thought Star Tours was a much stronger Star Wars ride. And
absolutely.
And I was just like, wow. So is this Galaxy's Edge thing going to win? Is it going to actually work?
Yeah, and crowds were down a lot in Disney in 2019, despite like this hugely hyped opening of Galaxy's Edge. And so therefore, like, the speculation starts, okay, Galaxy's Edge is a complete flop. People are over Star Wars. And so then the theory is, this has been set up in such a way that this could easily get all taken down and turn into Aladdin land in like a month if they want to.
Yeah, dude. There was, and this is real, by the way. This isn't just some false speculation
this is not
drummed
just
up by the
conspiracy theory. This is like a conspiracy theory that's loose in the wild, not just something we've made up.
No, it's out there, and I didn't make this up. This actually comes from Grace Randolph, who is kind of respected as a media journalist, as a reviewer of movies and of all things Hollywood. And she got out there and was like, I think she tweeted I believe there's a tweet that she had that said something along the lines of, looking forward to Aladdin Land in a couple of years. And tweeted that out at the I don't know if it was at Disney or Disney fan base, but man, so it's a real rumor. When I first went to Galaxy's Edge, I took a good look around as an artist and a person that's worked with my hands, making stuff. And I mean, I just took one look at the place and I thought, a lot of this detail is very surface, very on the surface. Like if you tore away this surface detail that's like on top of the rock work and just add a little stucco here and there to cover up the holes that are left behind. I mean, you could just kind of scrape away these speeder bikes and these spaceships and, just take that whole Millennium Falcon prop and just move that out of there. Just move that out of there. What do you have left? A bunch of rock work.
But isn't the Millennium Falcon, like, you can go inside it and stuff?
Well, not exactly. It's designed. What it is, and that's a great question, by the way. You go behind the Millennium Falcon and into this cave corridor that leads you down. And this is if you're going to go on the ride and you're not doing the solo rider. If you're doing the solo rider, then you can skip the whole cave section. But it's like this corridor cave kind of area with no real Star Wars theming. Not a whole lot of Star Wars theming going on in this cave area. And you're in there for a long time, and you weave through this cave until you finally emerge in what appears to be the Millennium Falcon, but it's not the actual prop Millennium Falcon that you see out front there.
Really?
No, it's just like a facade that you can hang out in. It's a waiting area while you wait to see which corridor you go down to ride the ride. And so, yeah, you never actually get onto the prop that you see out there, the physical prop. So if they were to remove that prop and replace it with, say, like a black jaguar head, what would you have?
Or a
The Cave of Wonders. You would enter through the mouth of the jaguar into the cave. You wouldn't even have to change the cave at all. You would just have to change the waiting area, which the Millennium Falcon facade. You would just change that into like, the waiting area where you're looking at the gold and stuff that's in the Cave of Wonders instead of the Millennium Falcon props. And then you get on your magic carpet ride simulation.
Yeah, but
which we know that they've developed.
But you can't even compare. You can't even compare the fan base of Star Wars to Aladdin. I mean, Aladdin is 2 movies, and one of them is identical to the previous one. Well, in a sense, it's just a reboot.
Yeah, and
but where Star Wars is like 20 movies or something, or whatever it is.
Well, with Star Wars, you have the 9 main movies, and then the smaller movies that surround it. That Disney produced, and then you have the television series, the animated series that Lucas produced, and then the ones that are being produced now. And then you have the extended universe, which they refer to as Legends now. Sorry, the expanded universe, and they refer to that as Legends now because they no longer consider it canon. That's what the Disney company just, with the flick of a pen, decided that, and pissed off a lot of Star Wars fans. But we decided to go along with the ride. Let's see how it's going to pan out and things. Oh man, I'm starting to wander off into rage and hate once again. You guys got to pull me back. You've got to dial me back whenever you feel me going off the rails on Star Wars. Yes. So Aladdin Land. I thought it was real, but then when the Rise attraction opened, it seemed as though everything was good. Like the fans were back, everyone was on board, and then this outbreak. And now I believe the outcome of Galaxy's Edge is not sealed at this point. And Aladdin Land is back on the table, my friends. So if you want to experience Star Wars, you're going to have to risk your life and go to Disney during the pandemic and try to ride the ride if you can, because
that's one way to have the whole park to yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a problem getting on the rides anymore as far as like the numbers of people. But right about the time that information from China began leaking out to me through WeChat and my family, the People's Republic of Beijing that I live with. That was around the time that the crowds at Disneyland were at their highest because of this Rise of the Resistance ride. I mean, it was crazy. I was watching videos preparing myself to go. In fact, all three were going to get together. You know, the Rep Freedom Force comrades were going to get together and storm the beaches of Disneyland, of Galaxy's Edge. We wanted to experience Rise of the Resistance ourselves, but this thing broke out. But it was breaking out while the crowds were like, I mean, people were packed. It looked like Mardi Gras up in that bitch, like shoulder to shoulder, back to front, people just sweating all over each other, just sweaty nerds carrying one another in through the opening gates in order to reserve their spot for their Rise of the Resistance. And it was like a thing where at 8 a.m., if you're inside the park and you have your app open and you have fast enough fingers, you can reserve a spot on that ride, but you have to do it like the instant the app will allow you to do it, because within a minute, like within 90 seconds, all of the reservations for that entire day disappeared because there were that many people there every day to ride that ride. And that trend continued for like a month and a half. I was watching it pretty carefully. You know, you remember some of the early live streams we were doing. I began to FOMO back into the Disney stock, you know, telling my story, how I sold everything after The Last Jedi, but they were redeeming themselves with The Mandalorian and this new Star Wars ride over at Disneyland. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I think a lot of things are going to change after this. Just people aren't going to naturally want to go back to movie theaters and theme parks. And that's unfortunate because those are a couple of my favorite things in this world.
Yeah.
Well, I think that all presupposes, why am I saying that wrong? The supposition, I'm saying this wrong, but that presupposes, that's it.
Yes, there you go, that's better.
That presupposes that we don't actually find out that there is no coronavirus. This is the coronavirus hologram theory.
Well, that's basically the David Icke theory. It's like, this is not a virus. There are no viruses. This is radio waves from the G5 towers activating something in your bloodstream. I don't know. I didn't really listen closely to his argument, nor would I.
No, you were pretty mad that he said that Elon Musk is part of it all.
Well, I was going to give him a chance. I was listening carefully, and I thought I would, I would tune in and listen to the entire thing if I could have stomached it. But then he comes out and just blurts out like it's some kind of commonly known fact that Elon Musk is a super psychopath and offers no evidence or information to back up anything that he's suggesting there. He's just like, oh yeah, we all know that. You don't have to offer any evidence, for a man that's actually sacrificing so much for his fellow man. But we weren't here to debate Elon Musk.
Or David Icke.
or David Icke, for that matter. No. And and hopefully these guys will all be good at the end of this. I'm hoping that, what I'm hoping, Justice, is that at the end of this, that the whole thing looks like bullshit, because the death toll is so low and so few people actually caught it that had any mega symptoms, that the whole thing just seems like an overblown, out of proportion, nonsensical exercise in futility. That's what I'm hoping for. But I don't actually believe that's the case. But I really hope it looks like that at the end of all this.
Yes, so do I. I hope that there is transparency at the end of all this, and that if there is any conflated numbers between pneumonia and maybe even the Kung flu and what was attributed to the coronavirus, I hope those facts come out, and so that we get like a real count.
So you support the investigation? The Democrats are proposing an investigation.
Oh, yes, there's going to be another committee or
Another, another busybody committee that really feels like it's important to look into every single detail of how Trump handled this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I would hope it would be an honest attempt to find out not how it was handled, but what it really was.
Well, you know that's not what it's going to be. This is going to be a partisan game, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, obviously, there's been a concerted effort to try to remove Trump from the White House since before he was elected. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so weird. I never thought that he would be in the White House in the first place, yet they were already trying to remove him before he even stepped foot in the place. I remember the day he was elected, it was like, do you remember this? Tell me if you recall this. I recall it like yesterday, but the night of the election and right after the announcement was made and we were waiting basically for Trump to give his speech. At that moment, the buses of like Antifa and of protesters were like getting loaded with boxes full of pre-printed posters opposing Trump. And I'm like, what the hats, t-shirts, like a full coordinated effort. Like the moment it happened and the next day. And I'm saying to myself, where did all these people come from? I thought no one believed this man would win. Yeah, they already had these posters printed up and t-shirts and hats and buses waiting and college students on the ready. Like, I'm like, where did this all come? And it's been nonstop ever since. It's been amazing to watch. Like Ron Paul never had it this bad. As far like with all the opposition he experienced, it never was on this level. Holy crap, man. And it just hasn't stopped. Like the amount of bloody Trump supporters that I've seen, like it's incredible. I mean, I don't really have a horse in this race, politically speaking, as Anarcho Jesus, but man, just as a witness to it all, it's incredible.
Well, you know, the Steele report was initiated and funded by the Republicans before it was handed off to.
Oh, right.
Clinton.
That's a good point. Yeah, right. Yeah, he was as opposed, if not more, by the Republican leadership in the beginning.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which reminded me a lot of the Ron Paul days as well.
Yeah.
You know, when they're their strongest guy, you know, the smartest guy on the stage, and all the GOP can do is oppose him and lie about him and skew the numbers in the favor of Rick Santorum. You know, their strongest candidate by far, apparently, Mitt Romney. So, but anyway, Ron Paul, he was a special kind of candidate, you know. He even brought a lot of anarchists out of their crypts to pull the lever.
Yeah, like Monkey Wrench, and you were an anarchist long before Yoda, right? Garcia?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've never been one to totally rule out, voting. I know a lot of anarchists will say voting is aggression, and yeah, I get that argument philosophically. But, you know, in the Ron Paul campaign, electoral politics was a good educational opportunity for people.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it was for me. It was for Justice, too. You know, like Justice, my background was more leaning towards the right, though I never really identified fully with the Republican Party or anything like that. I was always kind of an independent thinker and so forth. I didn't vote one time, felt guilty about it. Remember that. So I was supposed to go vote for what? Bob Barr? Or no. So hang on. Who was the politician that had the withered hand? Always gripping onto that pen.
Bob.
No, not McCain. Bob Dole. That's it. Bob Dole. No, McCain was the other one that was all messed up until he died.
He had two presidential nominees that had withered hands.
I guess so.
Unusual.
They needed a visit from my twin stepbrother, Jesus the Lord and Savior. Yeah. Happy Easter, everybody, by the way. You're still with us tonight? celebrating my show-off brother's resurrection.
Show off, brother.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to walk through walls every time he enters a room ever since then. He just does that to show off. So, Thomas, do you believe now? He's like, hell yeah, I do. You just walked through a wall, man. Never seen that shit before. You must be the Messiah.
Spoilers.
Oh. Sorry, Darth Yoda. Darth Yoda continues his annual read-through of the Bible. Not that he's trying to get through the Bible every year, but this is the year that he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Where are you now in your Bible read-through?
I'm at kind of a crossroads in terms of like, you know, how crazy do I want to make this? I am in Esther right now, but I'm going to have to kind of decide, you know, because this is around the point of the Old Testament where you get additional books that are in the Catholic and Eastern canons that you do not find in the Protestant canon. So I'm going to have to decide, do I want to do Maccabees and, you know, some of the other stuff that is basically right around here, or do I want to just, you know, do Esther and go on into Job and Psalms and everything that comes after that? That's, you know, universal to the Christian canon.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make life more difficult for yourself, go on ahead and do the Catholic Bible.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, you know, this might be a bit of a cop-out, but if I just stick to what's universally accepted among Christians, then, like, you know, I'll stand a better chance of actually getting through this in a year. But if I want to, like, you know, do Catholic Bible and then Eastern Orthodox, you get a couple of other short books beyond that. And then if I really want to go crazy, we can do the Ethiopian Bible and do the book of Enoch and so on and so forth. But, you know, at that point, we're going into 2-year project probably.
Yeah.
1-year project.
That's definitely getting into 2 years. We're bringing
the book of Enoch and everything else into it.
Well, listen, if you're going to do a 2-year project, I would have to throw Fox's Book of Martyrs in there. Not that it's canon of any kind, but it definitely adds color to the entire experience. Fox's Book of Martyrs being the chronicling of the early martyrs in the early church, leading up to like basically the times of the Nicene Council, and like from the times of the early church of Acts that you can read in the New Testament through like the Council of Nicaea times. So it's definitely worth looking into. It's a translation, as all things are from those days, but definitely has a lot of, man, I love the Fox's Book of Martyrs, man. There's some stories in there that you just never heard. People just being boiled alive and all kinds of acts of faith that just goes under the radar because they're not in the Bible, but definitely worth looking at.
Yeah,
for sure.
What were you asking, familiar with Gnostics?
Yeah,
Do you know if the Gnostics had a different collection of books?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
they had an expanded Bible as well, but they also confirmed through the Dead Sea Scrolls, because the Dead Sea Scrolls come from the Gnostics, who were very careful to preserve their sacred literature in clay jars, which happened to preserve really well in that climate. And so we had the Dead Sea Scrolls, which confirmed a lot of the ancient texts in the Old Testament and so forth, as far as word for word Hebrew is like matching up and so forth. It's like, wow, that's just incredible. Like a lot of the skeptics had to rethink things after that. But then they also found some of the other books of the Gnostics that weren't considered canon. And then the skeptics are like, aha, see, it's not, you know, these books are just as valid as the other. Therefore your canon is not canon and so forth. And the debate rages on.
The Book of Enoch is probably included.
The Book of Enoch, is that one of the...
Is that one that was in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
I believe it was.
Not certain. Here, let me look it up.
I just pulled up the Book of Enoch in Wikipedia and says various Aramaic fragments found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as Greek and Latin fragments were proof that the Book of Enoch was known by Jews and early Christians. So yeah, so it definitely, different in different languages was parts of it were in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
So the Aramaic language was that Old Testament, or because all the New Testament was like from the Hellenistic, like Greek, right?
Oh, in terms of what it's originally written in?
Yeah.
Believe so. Yeah.
The New
I
Testament?
might be wrong about that. In terms of, language originally written in, is any of the original New Testament Aramaic, or was it all in Greek? Okay.
No. It was Aramaic, and then Greek is later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the letters may have been
Greek originally. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as the Gospels and the early New Testament books, that's pretty much all Aramaic in the original. Why do you ask?
I just always thought, they all spoke Greek during the time of Christ, so.
Well, I think the most reliable translations that exist, that the English translations derive from, are from the Greek text.
Yeah.
But those were mainly translations.
Septuagint.
Septuagint, there you go.
Yeah.
These are derivative from the original Aramaic, which mostly don't exist anymore.
Yeah, the oldest complete Hebrew Bible we have is, what's it called? I'm going to bungle the name of it, but the oldest complete Hebrew canon we have is actually from the 9th or 10th century AD. So, you're kind of looking at the Septuagint, which was the Greek translation around 100 or so BC. For an earlier complete set of scripture from the time of Christ.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Fox's book, obviously, you get these bits and pieces in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, weren't a complete. It's not like they walked into a cave and found a Bible sitting there.
Right. And before you casually dismiss the Greek text, just keep in mind Fox's Book of Martyrs, which does take place throughout the times of the original, 100, 200, 300 AD, during the accumulation of the text of the Septuagint. Yeah. These people were willing to die over that stuff, in horrific ways, not just because it was something that was told to them by, third-party eyewitnesses, but for some of them, they saw it for themselves and they were willing to die for it, and they believed in these sacred texts and these letters written by these apostles and so forth. So there's a lot of weight there. It's just not so easy to dismiss. I'm not saying that proves the divinity or anything, or that the canon or which canon is the divine one, but definitely gives you more to think about than just to quickly and cavalierly dismiss the whole thing and say, that's just faith, nothing to see here.
Yeah, exactly. We know that within decades, people were dying for this. And so if it was all made up, are you going to go and die for Star Wars?
No. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I'll just rant about it on the internet for 2 years.
So, whether it's
sell all my Disney stock,
real or not, that's a whole long debate. But, at least enough people thought it was real, more so than people are going to think that Star Wars or some more blatant work of fiction is real. So I don't know how much of an argument that really is, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, and here we are on Easter Sunday, so I guess it would be appropriate to make that case. I've heard made in the past, probably way more eloquently than I can make it. But like you said, it's the eyewitness argument when it comes to the resurrection and of Jesus, and why would anyone ever seriously give that any thought as to something being real? That's obviously something that can't happen. Just think about all the people that were willing to be, tortured, murdered in horrific ways because they said they were eyewitnesses to his resurrection. Not just that they were catching it third hand from someone that told them that they saw it, but they themselves said that they were eyewitnesses of his resurrection. So when with Fox's Book of Martyrs, you have generations that go beyond the original apostles that also died in horrific ways. Yeah, getting back to the beginning, you know, these people, they all were in harmony over their story. Like nobody broke and said, you know what? No, I can't go through with this. Look, I was okay with the crucifixion thing, but the boiling in oil part, I'm not down with that. This is all bullshit. The dude's not alive. I didn't see anything. It's just a conspiracy. We were just pulling your legs, guys. Please don't boil me in oil. It just didn't happen that way. And yeah, Peter was crucified upside down and shot through with arrows. Yeah, it was John who was boiled in oil, but he survived that and lived on to write the Revelation from the island of Patmos, where he was exiled to, and he was the only one of the original 12 that survived and lived to be an old man, and wrote the Revelation in his elder years, like long after most of the New Testament canon was for the most part closed.
Right. Yeah. Revelation is, I don't know if it literally is the last that's written, but obviously, you know, it's last in, you know, the Bible. But,
I would think that maybe
I think
some of the
it's written pretty late.
Very late, and I would think that maybe I don't know from study. This is just opinion based on nothing, but maybe some of the Catholic books that aren't considered sacred by Protestants, maybe some of those books were written later.
No, those books predate the New Testament still, but they're written later than the other books of the Old Testament, by and large.
The New Testament books, though, like the
well, there aren't any Catholic books in the New Testament that are.
Is that right?
No, I mean, like these discrepancies are pretty much all Old Testament. I mean, the New Testament is pretty much universally the same across denominations, unless there's again some like obscure Ethiopian thing that I'm not thinking of, which is possible. But no, the extra Catholic and Orthodox books of the Old Testament, yeah, they're all generally written later or thought to be written later than the other books of the Old Testament.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to admit that I haven't taken the time to read the Catholic Bible. And yeah, I'm looking here. It looks legit. Same books for the New Testament. I know that Martin Luther had his
he tried
reservations.
To strip out Revelation and James. That's kind
was
of
it Revelation as well? Yeah,
Yeah,
James.
yeah.
I remember James. He called it a book of pissing straw.
Yeah.
And Revelation too. Okay, wow. Why was it for Revelation? I remember James. It was the faith without works is dead scripture, which he felt contradicted the saved by grace through faith.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what the rationale for Revelation is. Obviously, that didn't last, and you know, all Protestants and including Lutherans accept those books as canon.
Yeah, I will definitely read those, man. It's been far too long. I've got to do it, and we have time now.
Especially if we have the Mark of the Beast coming from Bill Gates, right? Right, Justice?
Well, I mean, the drone has to take your temperature from your right hand or your forehead, so it would only make sense to add. You have to have some sort of device to interface with it to make it more efficient and quicker and things. Justice? I think we lost Justice.
Lose him?
Oh, he's here.
No, shit. Yeah,
Hey.
I just find it so disconcerting.
Yeah. You know that
you guys
video?
talk about the drones flying around, giving tickets out to for people being alone outside. I mean, that is radical authoritarianism. That has nothing to do with coronavirus. That is somebody trying to push their will upon and over other people. Don't you agree?
Well, I agree. I agree that it would seem so. And, you actually gave a video, I believe, drilling a bit deeper into the topic, but I haven't had a chance to see it. I was thinking maybe we could pull it up and just watch a few minutes of it and then comment.
Cool.
and I'm going to crank it up and give me a chance to pee. But here, let me get them up. Share my stream. Boom. This one. You remember that?
I have to retract my video from.
Okay. So I haven't seen this yet. I'll be listening in the back.
Good.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, it turns out that I have to retract my video from last weekend discussing the possibly inflated count of coronavirus deaths. I've been informed by Jim Acosta over at CNN that the evidence that I showed doesn't count as evidence. It's nothing but a conspiracy theory.
There's a lot of misinformation, conspiracy theories out there about the coronavirus. What do you say to those folks who are making the claim without really any evidence that these deaths are being padded?
You will always have conspiracy theories when you have very challenging public health crises.
I stand corrected. And to be fair, not just by Jim. Dr. Fauci also calls these claims a conspiracy theory all on his own, even when unprompted.
You weighed in on a theory that's been floating around that perhaps the number of fatalities related to COVID-19 is being inflated.
Savannah, there is absolutely no evidence that that's the case at all. I think it falls under the category of something that's very unfortunate, these conspiracy theories that we hear about.
Which is weird, one, considering he's in front of a Health and Human Services backdrop, which, as we'll see in a moment, has explicit instruction and incentive to do exactly what he says is never happening at all. And two, considering his colleague Dr. Birx said just the day prior, yes, we are very loose with our coronavirus death counting.
I think in this country, we've taken a very liberal approach to mortality. There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. If someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
It's frustrating to hear these two contradict themselves and say collectively, no, that thing that we say we're doing isn't actually happening at all. Don't be a conspiracy theorist by taking our own words at face value. But that's the trouble with the listen to the experts narrative.
Yeah, Justice, you any thoughts? You've had experience working in the medical.
Well, I'm just curious, if somebody has a gunshot wound to the head, comes into the hospital and is tested for COVID-19 and dies of blood loss, not from obviously COVID-19, but from a gunshot wound, then does the person's death get attributed to the Dos Equis? I don't know.
It's a good question, but here's another question for you. What is the default state of man? Competence or incompetence?
Well, no. I mean, the CDC is actually advising this behavior, and he gets into it, but there's a radical difference in reimbursement to a patient's death by the government if you say it was a COVID-19 death. So they're actually incentivizing alterations. He gets into it further, and he says you don't even have to test them for COVID-19. You just, if you think they have it, then you can say that they have it and died of it, and then you'll get 4 times the amount of money for it.
I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit and see if we can find that. Hang on.
But I'm hating myself for not considering what should be the obvious reason. The money. Now that I'm done kicking myself, I'm giving thanks to those of you who sent me the information.
This is what you were talking about? Trump administration will reimburse hospitals for treating uninsured coronavirus patients. The incentive? Yeah, clearly. Okay, continue.
The stimulus bill has several provisions that establish special compensation for hospitals caring for coronavirus patients,
Hey, guess what? Darth Yoda. He must be taking a pee. Tom Vase is live. Anyway, let's just continue.
Who are uninsured, and to otherwise compensate hospitals for, quote, lost revenue attributable to coronavirus. In other words, there are financial incentives in place that say more coronavirus means more money. And
okay, like you were saying. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the way government tends to work in general. We're not expecting that the government suddenly is going to be not the government because of it, trying to save lives, it seems, for once. But the way things work in general is there's a lot of waste, a lot of back scratching, a lot of slush getting moved around.
Yeah, I mean, this is the greatest opportunity in human history in order to fund projects that they could never fund before. I mean, there's never been a time where there's money being so readily thrown at something. I mean, this has never happened in American history, certainly.
Right. Yeah, and just because I was encouraging people to prepare early on and to take this thing seriously doesn't mean that I am blind to what's happening in the economy and the world at large. And yeah, man, it's happening.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's a good video. I think he does an excellent job of sort of summarizing, the actual events and what people are saying, and pointing out the discrepancies between what they say and what they say.
Right on. And I'm going to put a link to that video in the public chat. So
Cool.
If you guys want to finish it on your own, there it is for you.
Cool.
Bang.
Is Yoda back?
That's Matthew Christensen's channel.
Yeah, he actually does a really good job of reporting things. I think he does excellent research. Each video he does, he only does about 1 week, but he spends a good amount of time to try to get things as accurate as possible. I really appreciate his reporting style. And
I knew of him. I was listening to Matthew Christensen before I had heard of Tim Pool, but Tim Pool was producing content at such a volume. Yeah, that I guess the algorithm just began to suggest Tim Pool to me a lot more, to the point to where I hardly ever see a Matthew Christian video in my feed anymore. It's weird.
Well, I think the difference is, I don't think YouTube. I think YouTube is shadow banning Matthew Christensen.
That makes sense.
They don't like his content.
Tim Pool has suggested that YouTube's been friendly with him because he does walk that fine line, that middle of the road. Even though a lot of people accuse him of being a Trump supporter or whatever, I mean, he's clearly not that. But people just say that because, from time to time he says, "Attaboy, Trump, you did a good job with handling this pandemic thing," or whatever. He's praised him for this or that. But yeah, he's no Trump supporter. I mean, it's kind of wild. He used to work for Vice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was actually the very first news reporter for Vice News.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, the very first person.
He must have been super young because he's still like, what? Is he in his 20s now?
I would assume late 20s.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Well, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Pretty accomplished.
Props to Tim Pool. He's out there giving his spin on the daily news every day, and then he has his live podcast every night, and he has 3 YouTube channels. I think that are his most active is Tim Pool, Tim Cast, and then the Tim Pool ILC, which is that podcast. And they post clips from the podcast. He says he's posting like 15 videos a day now. Tim Pool. Yeah, God, we are pathetic, man. When it comes to being YouTubers, like I'm lucky to get a new video out once a month. Thank goodness for live streaming. You know, at least we could do this on a regular basis. But yeah, 15 videos a day. I mean, a lot of them, it's just him shooting the shit with his buddies in studio and then pulling clips from that. But yeah, good stuff, man. You know what I was thinking of earlier today? Mad Blunts. You remember YouTuber Mad Blunts?
Yeah, he would do like music videos stuff.
Sorry? Did you say dick videos?
Was it music videos that he'd do, or I can't remember?
He did. I'm not sure what you said. I know what I heard. I don't think that's what you said. Mad Blunts used to do those videos like the Matrix of Illumination, which were like philosophical compilations.
I remember the name Mad Blunts, but I don't remember, what Mad Blunts really did.
Well,
I thought it was music-centric videos, or videos like philosophy and music intertwined.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, definitely. Still is. I believe he's still out there in YouTube land. Yeah, here he is. Let me share my screen. Yeah, this is Mad Blunt's channel. Let's see what he's done recently.
If there's any.
It says the Illumination of the Matrix, version
1 year
2.
Ago. Okay.
Oh, this is like a playlist though, so that I don't know. Is it new? 1 year ago. So he hasn't posted anything since a year ago. But
then we see 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Yeah,
sort
so not
by,
a whole lot.
I'm going to sort by most popular. Let's see what his most. He has a video on carbon fiber 10 years ago. That's so random. Yeah, this is more like it. Free Your Mind, The Matrix of Illumination 1. It's something on Joe Rogan from 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
This guy is just
Carbon
like
fiber?
super early on. Yeah, I don't know. That's like probably, I don't know.
That's probably some chemtrail
I remember
thing.
that was a big thing in America's Addicted to Oil. They're talking about how if they could lower the price of making cars with carbon fiber, then the weight reduction was so significant that you would be able to have gas vehicles that would be able to, get like 100 or 200 miles per gallon.
Okay, maybe that's what that one is then.
Just spitballing.
Oh, let's see. Guys, I don't know, man. Okay. Sounds interesting. Here, let's just get volume.
To the naked eye, this is just a bicycle. Its handlebar support is made of carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is a relatively new, sophisticated material that has found many uses in the world of sport. Tennis rackets, skis, high jump poles. It's light and supple, yet strong, boasting performances. The weaving varies according to use, giving the object strength and flexibility suitable for its function. Carbon fiber is made up of a complex design of rigid fiber strands that are bathed in epoxy resin, giving it its surprising characteristics. In each strand, there are between 3,000 and 12,000 carbon fibers, all tightly packed together.
It's 2010 resolution.
Strands have been broken so that we can see the end of each fiber. Long grooves, some of them fed.
Right. Yeah, so this isn't a typical Mad Blunts video. This is more like an actual scientific breakdown of what carbon fiber is. Mad Blunts, and shout out to Mad Blunts, man. I was just thinking of him today. His videos were focused on enlightenment, basically. And he would use audio and video he would use video from mainstream movies, but he would edit it together with audio from not so mainstream philosophers, such as this guy, Jude. I forget his name. Here, let's click on it. Comments are turned off. Music by Peter Joseph. Wow. I didn't know he made music.
When we hear, we either accept or reject.
Good, how are you?
We translate
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
into our knowledge, our background. Or we compare what is being said.
Krishnamurti.
Okay.
J. Krishnamurti. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to show the whole thing. But yeah, man, these were really great videos to like roast a bowl to and just like chill and watch and be like, whoa, man, the universe is crazy. We might be living in a simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember like Mad Blunts is somebody you were into, but yeah, I didn't remember any of these videos. So, but then I look and obviously he isn't really doing much on YouTube these days. So,
yeah, apparently not so much these days, but it seems like he's made videos throughout the years, which is interesting. I'll have to go back and check and see some of his newer stuff. The other one I was really into was this guy, Symphony of Science.
oh, dude, I forgot about Symphony of Science.
You remember Symphony of Science?
Symphony of Science was great. Yeah, I love Symphony of Science's stuff.
It was Melody Sheep was the name of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right.
And he would take clips from famous scientists, both modern and classic scientists, and would use like a special, like his special talent was auto-tuning them to where they were singing songs instead of just
that's
speaking.
right.
And of course, the classic one was that one with Carl Sagan.
Yeah,
we were
with
all
the whales.
connected. Yeah, the whales.
Yeah.
And, but the one that I think that stuck with us the most, that kept coming up again and again and again, yeah, the whales went, oh. Mm-hmm. No, it's yeah, I'm not going to play it, but the one that I will play, if I can find it, Mars. Mars is what? That next logical step?
Something like that, yeah.
In our space program. Here, let me share out my screen real quick. Man, it's been a long time.
Oh, wow, you found
since
it.
I've made the case for Mars. All right, great. Let's get past this advertisement. I do recommend Masterclass, though. It's really good. All right. Oh, yeah.
Mars is the next logical step in our space program.
This goes out to Elon Musk.
It's the challenge that was in the face for the past 30 years.
When this was made, this video, when this song was put together and produced, I don't believe Elon Musk was really a household name.
No, I don't remember this being like during your period of Elon fanhood, at least not to the degree to which you do.
Well,
it
it
now.
looks like 2010, so that would have been kind of at the early onset. But I may not have been privy to his SpaceX company at that time. I may have been more of a Tesla fan in 2010, later to discover about SpaceX and all that, and Neuralink and OpenAI and all the other ones. Here we go.
It has water, it has carbon, it has a 24-hour day, it has geothermal energy. Mars is a place we can settle.
There is a giant rift in its surface, 5,000 kilometers long. There is a volcano as wide as Arizona.
So there's the choice in life. One either grows or one decays. Grow or die. I think we should grow.
Thoughts?
Nice. I mean, I think this is really the only use of auto-tune that I approve of.
Yeah, this is the best of it, I think. In fact, I wouldn't even really call this auto-tune as much as just like a new kind of style, like he created using the auto-tune technology. But it doesn't even really sound like auto-tune as much as like the stuff you hear in hip hop these days.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff where they actually use the auto-tune. They want it to sound like auto-tune.
Yeah, and sounds terrible, of course.
You're like, yeah, that's exactly what you were talking about. Here, a little more of this. Oh, this is beautiful.
There's a world of wonders. It has canyons, riverbanks, and giant.
By the way, 420 passed a long time ago for most people, but it's 420 somewhere in the world. Light one up for Carl Sagan, would you?
Yes.
There's a world of wonders. It shouldn't be humans to Mars in 50 years. It should be humans to Mars in 10.
Man, and this was made 10 years ago. Wow.
So is Elon going to get there in the next 5 years?
I think so. I think so. If anyone has a shot at it, it's Elon. Even Trump said, we'll let Elon go, and then we'll take all the credit for it.
Of course.
Of course. The interlude.
We either muster the courage to go, or we risk the possibility of stagnation, cosmic radiation, zero gravity, Martian dust storms, that contaminate.
This is like the rap interlude.
But these are dragons that we can take.
In our time, we have sifted the sands of Mars, established a presence there, and fulfilled a century of dreams. The Mars rover is a really
Pour one out for the Mars rover.
captured our imaginations.
What was that message that the Mars rover sent back to Earth right as it died? Said the sun is going down and my batteries are low.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was real sad. Touching.
Genuinely are explorers in the old-fashioned sense. If you put out a call for volunteers for the first crew to Mars, they'd be lined up coast to coast.
Reality show contestants will be lined up coast to coast. Mars.
There's a world of wonders. It has canyons, riverbanks, and giant ice sheets.
There's a world of wonders.
It shouldn't be humans to Mars in 50 years. It should be humans to Mars in 10.
Have you seen the Starship?
Mars is a dry, frozen version of
The Starship that SpaceX is building to get to Mars?
I don't know. I probably have.
The one that
but,
crumbled?
There's some good YouTube channels out there. NASA Space Flight is the name of one of them. I believe hosted by this girl that calls herself Boca Chica Mary or something. But anyway, it's people that live out there and have placed cameras and gone through all the proper channels and got certified as media so that they can have these 24-hour streams running, monitoring what SpaceX is building out there in Texas. And what they're building is the Starship, the thing that's going to get humans to Mars, if all goes well. You want to see it?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Here, let me pause the song here. All right.
You're
My computer's starting to yell at me.
Crumbled recently, right? Starship 3 crumbled recently.
Here, let me plug in my headphones so I can hear you, Justice.
Justice
Welcome
said
back.
that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Starship 3.
Talking to me.
I got to force quit something. My computer's dying. MacBook Pro, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Starship.
So was that Justice Starship 3 crumbled?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Lost pressurization while they're trying to fill it with, I don't know, they're doing like a pressure test, I think. I'm not sure. Are you remembering exactly what happened?
Oh yeah. What happened is when they were testing, they've been doing pressure tests of certain sections of the Starship, and they put serial number 3 on the stand. They tested the bottom section, and that held pressure for a really long time. And they tested it first with water and then with the actual propellant. And then they decided to test the top tank, which is a heavy tank like a water tower that sits up top. And so it provides downward pressure in gravity conditions. You know, I don't know a whole lot about rocket science, but what I understand is with this steel construction that they've chosen to go with for Starship, you have to keep the entire Starship pressurized at all times. And they made the mistake of not having the bottom section fully pressurized when they loaded the top section, which became heavy, creating a lot of downforce on that bottom section. So it eventually crumpled like a tin can. They needed to have that fully filled and fully pressurized as well in order to support the weight of the top section. And that's not going to be a problem once you're in outer space and on a planet with low gravity. But on Earth, it's something you have to take into consideration. In fact, there was a rocket that collapsed, a really famous one from the Atlas days that collapsed because it was a stainless steel rocket and didn't have enough pressure. And there's a really great YouTuber named Scott Manley that you could check his channel for a lot of very detailed drill downs into all of these topics. But this is Starship number 4. Did you want to see that Starship number 3 collapse, Darth Yoda? Because you haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
Let's take a look at that collapse. Looks like this is someone else's channel, but here, let's skip ahead. Okay, this looks like a really long. Let me find something that gets more to the point. Oh, here it is. Bang. You can see that?
Yes. Or, well, now you've got a pop-up over it. There we go.
Yeah, that's going to keep happening. Let me just move that over here. I'm just kind of scrolling ahead. It looks like they're not like getting to it. All right, I'm just going to skip ahead. Bang. Okay, you can starting to see a couple of little pucker points on that lower section where there's no ice. Okay, now they're slowing the video down. This must be where it happens. Yep, you can see it happening. Boom.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not good.
I know, man. When I saw that, I'm like, you know, I want to go to Mars one day, but man, they really got to get this thing worked out. They really got to get that worked out. I want to go to the moon. You know, it'd be great. Even just take a cruise by the moon. I don't have to actually put my feet on it. But yeah, they got to get this worked out before any of that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that serial number 4. This happened days ago. Now serial number 4 is already like almost ready. It's already to this point. Like they could pretty much start testing it soon. But I think they're beyond this point. They're expecting this test to go well. Here's 1 day ago, 22 hours ago. Take a look. This is that NASA spaceflight channel that I've mentioned. And this is what their footage looks like. So they edit together these time lapses of the building of Starship, basically, and they document it on a day-to-day basis. And it's incredible. I mean, there's not a lot of people in the world watching this. Let's see what the numbers are on this video. I mean, it's a lot of people, but, you know, okay, 74,000 people seen this video in 1 day's time. So, you know, there's hundreds of thousands of people definitely tuned in. But what percentage of people is that in the world? I don't know. This thing is going to be a surprise when it takes off for the first time, for real. Like, a lot of people will not have seen this coming. It's going to be a giant rocket. And their first flight test is going to be, I believe, either 100 or 200 meters hop test. They've done a small hop test with the what they called the Starship Hopper. It was a really small version. It was still big, a big canister kind of craft with some rigid legs, and it just hopped from one side of the property to the other. It got up really high too. But this next test is going to go super high, miles high, and come back down and then attempt a landing. And because it's so huge, just the scale of it should be really something to witness. And what we're seeing here is the construction of the one that might do that hop. Serial number 4. And just because it's serial number 4, that doesn't mean that they've only gone through 4 of these things. They had a whole other naming convention before the serial number thing, where they were calling it like Tony Stark numbers, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. They were up to like Mark 3 when they switched over to serial number 1, 2. So they've gone through a lot of prototypes very rapidly. And they not only are going through prototypes of the Starship, they're also continuing to expand the facility where the Starship's being constructed simultaneously. So they're not only learning how to build the Starship, they're learning how to build the factory that builds the Starship. And this goes right back to...
Important, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing you hear Elon talking about when it comes to Tesla, building the machine that builds the machine, focused on the factory that creates the factory, or the factory that creates the cars. I guess the factory that creates the factory would be a whole nother level of the machine that builds the machine.
That builds the machine.
Yeah. That's the AI you really got to watch out for. It's the one that can improve itself. The one that can build other AIs, like way better than you ever thought to. The AI that can give birth to the super AI. That's the one that Elon's super worried about. That's the one he's concerned with. So he's been working as fast as he can to get some form of functional general artificial intelligence built himself. And I get to see some of that in my car as the self-driving features unfold, the full self-driving. Yeah, this is super cool. Yeah, these videos are great to go to sleep to at night, like pull them up on the big screen and just, you hear all the birds chirping and the sounds of Boca Chica, the sounds of them building the Starship, imagining, man, there's going to be human beings in that thing soon flying around the moon. Like, that's already on the books. Like, that trip is planned. And if they build this thing well, should be able to fit almost 100 people inside. Or do gigantic fairing payloads with a clamshell kind of opening. That it should be able to hold gigantic telescopes and things of that nature. Like, it'd be no problem for this Starship to deliver a Hubble version 3 or whatever. I'm just skipping to 3 because of the James Webb.
Yeah, that's coming up pretty soon, I think, the James Webb telescope.
Yeah, they've been planning on that one for a very long time.
Yeah, but I think its launch is finally supposed to be, I don't know, maybe within like the next year or 2.
Well, this is the thing that Elon Musk is... I'm going to go back to full screen as we continue to talk about this. Elon talks about his fear. His greatest fear is that we currently have a window of opportunity to go to Mars. Like for
we've never had in history.
This is the first time in human history where we have the ability to create the hardware and the software, and we have the engineering prowess and the types of machinery that's capable of building these gigantic spaceships that are required to make it possible to basically become a multi-planet species. That window is open to us now. Now, we could be slow about it and wait for someone to come along in 10 or 20 or 50 years, like NASA was talking about before Elon came along. I mean, it was like Mars in 50 years, just like in the song we just heard, right?
Yeah.
When it should be Mars in 10.
Always kept being pushed back. Like, 10 years ago was Mars in 50 years. 20 years ago was Mars in 50 years.
That's
50
right.
years ago, it was Mars in 50 years.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Kind of like hydrogen fuel cells. Anyway.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject.
Yeah, that was in the movie, Addicted to Oil.
I got to see that. I don't think I've seen that one. Addicted to Oil? Is that on Netflix?
Elon Musk touted that as one of the main reasons he decided to make an electric car.
Well, I'll have to check that one out. That sounds really good. There was another one as well that is also worth checking out if you can find it. I'm not sure where you can find it, but it was called Who Killed the Electric Car? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then
Revenge of the Electric Car.
Yeah.
But Who Killed the Electric Car documents how GM reclaimed the lease after the 2 or 3 year lease, whatever they had chosen on their EV1s. Like, they reclaimed that car. They confiscated the car. They wouldn't allow people to renew their lease. They wouldn't allow people to buy the lease. They confiscated the car, brought them all to like a secret location and destroyed every last one of them, just murdered them all. And it's called Who Killed the Electric Car? It's a really great movie. Yeah, check that out. Inspired Elon to start Tesla. But we are witnessing, these are potentially the spacecraft that is going to get humans to Mars. But that window, how long can it stay open? If we wait for the perpetual 50 years away, it's just never going to happen. And Elon realized that. So when he finally had the resources to make a difference, to do something, at first he was just going to try to send a rocket to Mars in order to create like a bit of PR for NASA to raise money so that they could get to Mars faster. But eventually he realized they don't really seem to be all that serious about Mars at all. And it's already really expensive to buy a rocket to do this trip that I'm planning. Why don't I just figure out how to make my own rockets? And from then on, he just changed his focus, started SpaceX, started building rockets. And what you're witnessing right here is 15 years in the making. And the latest iteration of SpaceX rocketry designs. This isn't going to be a multi-stage like what we consider a multi-stage. It will have multi-stages. There's a giant super... Yeah, it's 2-stage. There's a super booster, a super giant heavy, super heavy booster that's going to launch this thing into space. But this Starship itself is like 2 stages in one. And basically what we've been seeing them put on the test stand is the thrust section. And then the upper section, which we have yet to really see fully assembled into a final form, is going to be the section where like the cargo and the people go. I'm trying to get rid of Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I can't. He keeps staring at me in the face.
Cargo space? No, Cargo Road.
What is that from?
That was from Meme Review last time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that is some good
The
stuff.
Starship
But-
is supposed to hold like 100 people, right?
Yeah, 100 people, and the goal is to get... Elon's goal is a big goal. In his lifetime, he wants to basically... It doesn't have to happen in his lifetime, but he wants to see it well on his way in his lifetime. He'd like to be one of them. He wants to get a million people, and not like a million scientists, like ordinary people, to move to Mars, to establish a fully self-sustaining city on Mars that would be the beginnings of beings evolving into a multi-planet species. It wouldn't end with Mars.
One that is not totally fixated on population control.
Oh, quite the opposite. Elon is, and by example, he's like, do as I say and also do as I do. Because he's like, have as many babies as you possibly can. You know, if you're a person of intelligence, of means, of of wanting to raise your children peacefully in this crazy world, then have as many of them as you possibly can, because the world needs more good people. It needs more people in general, he says. You know, it's like we're having a population implosion in the modern world is what's happening. And
it's funny, he's been saying that for so long, and I couldn't believe that he was able to say that without immense ridicule by the public. I mean, there was some, but I was surprised. I mean, I think he toned it down for a while, but governments knew this. I mean, that is why we're importing so many people from these failed states like Syria, is because the corporations are well aware that the next generation of people are not going to be coming from, you know, the domestic population. They're going to have to come from sort of outside immigrant population.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They like to make that point all the time, it seems. So, yeah, it's good that you bring that up. But for all of you Elon Musk naysayers out there, just keep in mind, yeah, he's a billionaire. Yeah, he's rubbing shoulders with the elites. Yeah, he's getting invited to all of the Illuminati meetings and all of that. But he's no eugenicist. Like, he's the one lone voice amongst those people that's like not into population control whatsoever. He is preaching the opposite of it. Yeah. So, just factor that into your reasoning when you're trying to figure out which of these billionaires are on our side and which aren't. Because you can't just write a person off because they've been successful in business. You know, that's no reason to write a person off. I heard David Icke do that on his live stream last week, and it pissed me off. You know, just because a man earned $1 billion and was successful in business doesn't automatically make them a sociopath wanting hell-bent on destroying humanity. You know, this is a guy that's out there saying, have as many babies as you possibly can. We need to not only populate this planet, but the other planets out there. And, you know, I'm going to help you to do it. I'm going to make it so cost-effective and affordable to be able to go to the moon and Mars that anyone that really wants to do it, that sets their mind to it and is willing to work a little bit to get there, will be able to afford to do it. I mean, he's talking about trips to Mars for like $250,000. And that seems like a lot of money when you just put that number out there as a number. But you need to compare that to what it would cost to get a human to Mars currently, or, you know, in previous generations before SpaceX. It would just be totally unaffordable for the average person. And you got to
consider, where's Bitcoin going to be by the time it's at that price point?
That's not where I was going with that, but I love where you went with that. That's a really good point. If you're holding like one Bitcoin today, in the 5 years it's going to take to develop this technology to get humans to Mars, 5 years is an optimistic time frame. It might take a little bit longer. You got to ask yourself, what will the price of one Bitcoin be then? If it's, you know, $7,000 today, if you can afford that, maybe that's your ticket to Mars right there. Buy one Bitcoin and just sit on that sucker. And 5 or 6 years, it'll be worth $250,000, maybe. Can't promise anything. Nothing's guaranteed in this investing game. But that's a very viable thesis based on previous performance and so forth. But I think Elon wasn't even given that speculation a thought when he was putting that price out there of $250,000. What he was thinking is, you know, if you're serious about moving to Mars, you can sell a few things here on Earth, and keeping that in mind, then raising $250,000 doesn't seem so impossible. If you're going to sell your house, you're going to sell your cars, you're going to sell all the things that you're not going to need on Mars that you don't really necessarily even want to come back to if you decide to come back. You know, maybe it's just going to be, I'm going to start all over again, fresh slate, if I decide to not stay. But it's, it's going to be a couple of years journey for sure. And I think for people that would like not, it's weird to be talking like this, guys. I admit it's weird to be talking about taking trips to Mars for the common man, but this is a serious conversation that we're having here because of Elon Musk and what SpaceX is doing.
What's the latest timeline on boots on Mars? Do you know?
I do know that Elon is pushing really hard right now, and that's not that's not for
2024,
that's not for no reason at all. No, 2022 is the next window, and I think
No, I think there's a window open right now, or
let me look.
I think the window closes like in May or June.
Yeah, not to confuse with the other window we were speaking of, the metaphorical window, the technological window.
I meant the distance between Earth and Mars, I think, is prime right now until maybe May, I think.
Okay, I'm looking here.
And a lot of people were speculating that he was trying to get everything ready to do his first launch, and that's why he's pushing so hard right now this year.
That's right. That's what I had heard, and I was just trying to confirm here. Why is 2025 the best year to launch a mission to Mars? So 2025, roll back 2 years, 2023, 2021. So probably sometime next year. So like we're within a year, we're within a 12-month time frame at this point. How many months? I don't know. See if this gives any specifics.
I think it's supposed to be a 6-month journey, I expect.
Right. If you're able to launch during that window, it can be 6 months. It could be as little as 6 months. It could, I think, even as little as 3 months. I heard Elon float out there as a possibility with future propulsions that he's already thinking about.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but 2025, I think is, he's pushing hard for this current window. And then there's 2023, but I believe he's really wrapped up in that moon mission for 2023, getting Starship to circumnavigate the moon and back. And that's called Dear Moon, right. #Dear Moon. The Japanese investor, there's a Japanese billionaire who put a ton of investment money. I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but it's enough for Elon to be building all these starships and blowing them up. And he's planning to fly on one of these starships around the moon in 2023 and bring with him a hand-selected group of artists from every field, the visual arts, the fashion design, musical arts, the filmmaking. And he says he wants to inspire the next generation of artists with this trip around the moon. Really, I think it's just an excuse to be super baller with like some of the coolest people in the world, maybe, is what he's thinking. And he's invited Elon to attend with him, so I don't know if Elon's actually going to make that trip because he has a lot of people still counting on him if anything were to go wrong. But that's why they're working so hard to make sure that nothing does go wrong. So, this is a really important proof of concept, that 2023 mission. So even though it seems like that's a long time away for us now, in terms of building rockets, improving them, that's still a really tight time frame. So yeah, there is that possibility that they're trying to hit it for Mars, but I think it's more about the Dear Moon, and then 2025 is going to be the Mars. It's what I'm thinking, but that's still a really optimistic kind of time frame compared to anything NASA's talking about. And if we don't try to do it now, the window may close and the time to do it will pass. When will that window ever be open to humanity again? Will it ever be open to humanity again? There's technologies in the past that we look back on today as modern man and we go, how the hell did they do that? How the hell did they build those pyramids exactly? How did they make those gigantic blocks stack like so precise that you can't slip a piece of paper between them? How? Like we struggle to do that with our very large machines today and all of our knowledge of engineering. And technologies were lost. There were things and opportunities that man had to itself at one time that were completely lost. Libraries burned, knowledge eradicated. And
can you imagine the amount of knowledge in the Library of Alexandria?
I can't. I think it's unfathomable how much was lost there. You know, and in the midst of global pandemics, it makes one wonder what would be the modern equivalent of like the Library of Alexandria burning. And I think these are the kind of scenarios that keeps Elon Musk up at night and keeps him cracking the whip, working so hard to get these spaceships built and to try to get humans off of this planet before, you know, things go horribly wrong. Because this opportunity to do this thing, to get man off of Earth once and for all, that's something that is possible if we work hard enough and enough people are willing to take the risk. But that opportunity may not be with us forever, and if we were to lose the chance now, it may never come back. Yeah, and I think that's totally realistic. You know, Elon, and he drills down a level deeper. I mean, he believes basically we're in a simulation, but the rules of this simulation are very real. You know, and in order to get amazing things done, you have to do it the hard way. You've got to build everything from scratch. You got to make profitable businesses out of it. You got to prove the naysayers wrong time and again and again and again. You got to wreck those short sellers. I just didn't even think it was possible for any one person to do one of the things Elon Musk has been successful at. I never thought it'd be possible to find one dude successful at all these different things. I remember when I first met Justice, we were both into hydrogen fuel cells.
HHO.
Yeah, HHO. Shout out to the HHO community out there on YouTube if you're still out there. Yeah, man. We were into watching the garage projects on YouTube where people were learning how to split water into hydrogen and oxygen and use the hydrogen and oxygen to make the fuel mixture going into a combustion engine super clean, super lean, and super efficient, so that you'd get way more gas efficiency, way more fuel efficiency, like double your fuel range, clean your engine out, make your car run like brand new. And then at the extreme end of that, run on water alone with no gasoline. All hydrogen, created on demand with a small fuel cell that you could create in your garage that a lot of YouTube projects were trying to do and failing miserably. But it was so exciting and fun to watch. And we had friends even that were doing that, creating YouTube videos back then. Ron Paulers and so forth. You know, the thought was, if you get the energy problem under control, that solves all the other problems. Am I right? Am I wrong about that? Like, this is pre-Ron Paul for me. I think for you as well. And but the thought at the time and why we were so into that was like, man, if you could solve this problem, you know, like the cars running on water. If cars could run on water, like that would solve all the reasons for the wars. It would create such an abundance in the economy. And then along comes Elon and basically changes the game. The hydrogen projects really weren't fully manifesting to the levels that I wanted to see it. But the electric car thing made so much sense. Even the hydrogen fuel cell idea, you know, that just became obvious over the years, just like you were saying. You know, it's just perpetually pushed off for 10 years. Hydrogen is still to this day, if you're to ask an expert, it's probably about 10 years off. It's been that way forever. So I think, yeah, electric cars really, that kind of solved it for me. when it was the combination of electric cars and supercharging networks that, for me, in my mind, it clicked. Like, we've solved this thing, and we've lost justice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, about to lose Darth Yoda too.
Well, that's okay. We don't have to waffle on forever tonight. I just wanted to thank everyone that stopped by, you know, just to have a few laughs with us. Oh, he's back. Man, we're trying to close the stream and you're back. What? Oh, maybe he's not back.
So I interrupted an epic anarcho-Jesus, or Justice interrupted an epic anarcho-Jesus discussion when he disappeared.
And I'm not certain that he's fully back. I see the icon, but I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Wink at us if you hear us, Justice. I love the old, that's the original Illuminatus Society logo.
Yeah.
He had, here, can we make his, well, anyway, if you can zoom in on that, you would see this eyeball in the middle of the Liberty Bell with the Liberty wings. And that's the Illuminatus eye from the dollar, the Illuminati eye. Sorry. And
do you guys have audio now?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Oh, now we can hear you. Yeah.
And we had people back in the old days that were accusing us of like conspiring with Illuminati and so forth in our videos. Like they were pointing out frames, finding like moments and pointing them out in the comments of frames of our videos where there'd be an Illuminatus eye that we were totally unaware of, or, you know, some symbology of some sort. And so we just finally embraced it and decided to make the logo for the channel back in those days to be like kind of Illuminati symbolism. I took this one and made a more cartoony version of it, a little bit more stylized. And then at the end of some of our videos, we'd have the Illuminati eye like wink at the camera, which I thought was kind of funny. There was the sound of like a cash register, it was like ching, and the Illuminati eye would wink at the camera. But that's not our style anymore. We're kind of like transitioning more over to what you see now, which has been fun. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen tonight. If you like what you see, give a thumbs up. And we'll keep coming at you. Probably, we're not sure, Tuesday or Wednesday. We did Wednesday this last week, and that felt kind of right to me. Maybe we should plan to do Wednesday again. I do like to tune into the High Council on Tuesday nights. We were going up against them head to head there for a little bit, but I'd be okay with Wednesday.
To go up against people head to head right now.
Yeah, and you know, right now that's pretty much everybody. Let's see, for example, and then we'll close this off. I just want to check out of curiosity. Lately, whenever I go to YouTube, there are like thousands of live streamers. Let me see. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but maybe not much. If I go to my subscriptions, oh, look, we're live right now. Oh, okay, it's not that bad right now. Fatal J is streaming with 31 viewers, and we have the Liberal Viewer with 193. Yeah, it's not that bad. Oh, Doomcock's going live in a little bit, so I'll probably tune him in. Doomcock, Dictor Van Doomcock, Overlord DVD himself, man. This is a really great YouTuber. Anyway, it's not that bad, but yeah, it's been like the live streaming apocalypse for sure lately. So anyway, gentlemen, I'll plan to see you guys again either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll put out a community post to let the audience know. So thanks for tuning in tonight.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks. Pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, as always. Stay home, people.
Wash your hands.
Sneeze into your elbows.
Yeah, just don't be gross.
Wash your hands.
And Justice was supposed to say, and don't buy the bullshit.
Well, I was trying to say that by saying wash your hands.
Oh, you were being ironic.
Well, I just think it's the stupidest thing in the world to say.
Well,
you have to sing happy birthday twice.
Well, you would think that you wouldn't have to stay, but apparently you do. You know, I used to think everyone washed their hands after they, handled themselves or after they come home from the stores, but people
I don't
don't.
think there could be anything more patronizing than telling grown adults to wash their hands to save the world.
So many of them don't wash their hands. So
yeah, I guess it is, but maybe it's necessary for some of these so-called adults. You know, like I was amazed when I went over to China. It's like, hand washing wasn't really much of a thing when I was there. Like, there's a shortage of paper towels. There's such a scarcity of paper towels that washing hands is just not a thing, and you got to bring your own tissues just to wipe your booty on a squat pot for that. And the thing that you do is just smoke a cigarette, and basically they were just smoking stalls, and not a whole lot of hand washing going on. But I think that's all changed now. Hopefully, I mean, just wash your hands, people, and quit eating weird shit. That's my message. And with that, we'll call the stream
call tonight. Yeah.
To an end. Okay. Good night, gentlemen. Talk to y'all soon.
Take care.